How are we doing on this fine Friday? This week has shot by. It is disgraceful how quickly it's gone. But good to have you all here. Pretty exciting stuff. I had such a reasonable week planned up until the Razing of Westerlands dropped. And now I've been doing loads of stuff around that. But, that's a nice problem to have. Some cool new rules. I just want to start off by asking, am I maybe illiterate? Because I thought we were getting a new Army of Infamy. I had no idea that the new book didn't have an Army of Infamy in. Like, I'm sure it said that in the posts. It's possible that I am just illiterate, but yeah, I don't know. It's an odd one. Hopefully so. Can anyone else confirm whether or not I'm illiterate? Man, I wish I could read. Good to see you, Phil. Good to have you. Didn't they just say it was a new way to play Marauders? You know what? Why don't we just go to the actual post, the initial post? I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. Hold on. This might screw everything up because I haven't preset this up. But let's go. Sweet. We'll go like that. This'll do. It's not going to be cropped correctly, but it'll be cropped well enough. So, it was a post on a Monday, right? It was a post on a Monday a few weeks ago. If we just look at the Old World tab, I think it was this one. Okie dokie. So, what do we got? I love how your name is in characters that I can't read, and your comment is, I don't know how to read. Yep, me either, buddy. Me either. Haven't got a clue. You know what? I don't know if the chat box is even... Oh, would it help if I put the chat box here? Will I be able to see it then? Oh, that's the wrong button. Ho ho ho! Done an oopsie doodle there. Oh, God. This is why I don't normally just quick switch scenes when I'm doing the sort of impromptu. There we go. Chat should be above my head now when that pops up. Mr. Osirian, what ho? What ho indeed. What ho indeed. You don't know why it's doing that, but whatever, we vibing. You say that as if you didn't deliberately set it. I'm fairly confident that you definitely deliberately set it. Oh, the chat box in here is cursed. Why is it so bad? It's incredibly faded. Whatever. We're not going to be on this screen for long. You would never. Yeah, you definitely did. I can't hear... Oh, God. I can't read backwards. Can't hear my... Oh, it's because you typed it wrong. I think it's meant to be I can't hear myself think. Yeah, very good. Very good. Okay, so let's have a look in here, because we're trying to work out whether or not there should have been an Army of Infamy. I thought... So what I do when... Because obviously Square-Based... Shout out to Square-Based, who... managed to get their hands on everything before me. That sounded bitter, it wasn't meant to. But what I'll do is I'll go through and look at the images without listening to them, because what I want to do is try and give my opinions without being influenced by their takes. Because I think it's much more interesting to come to your own conclusions, especially when you're doing it for content. So... I don't know. My initial thought was, oh, are they just going to do another video about the Marauder Arcane Journal coming tomorrow? But I guess not. I guess there just isn't one. Ian's incredibly faded. Very good. Turn 7 Gaming. I'm pretty sure I recognise that profile picture. Is that Tolmy? Am I losing my mind? I feel like I might be. Yeah, it's changed the names on YouTube. I guess they've messed around with the settings to try and make it so people are using their real like registered names more or something. I don't know. YouTube messes around with things. But I appreciate the platform that I have and would never say a bad word about them. I don't think they're going to vanish me, but, you can never be too... That's a pretty significant name change, Vesper. All right. So we were looking... I've tabbed into this 5 minutes ago, and I've managed to do nothing but talk to chat. Now you're a weeb. Well, that's unfortunate. Your shame is no longer hidden. Tonk now has an 84 after the name. Oh, that's, we'll never be able to tell who you are. All right, let's have a look. So the book, I'm sure it was in here. New rules for the 4 cults of chaos, chaotic traits, lore of Shadowlands, new artifacts, give you everything to... Oh, okay, yeah, it doesn't actually say specifically. It just says, here's these rules that we're getting. Alright, cool, fair enough. Unless they've gone back and edited it. I mean, they wouldn't, would they? We can check. They do get things wrong and then fix it, which, as someone who puts out content on the internet, has been known to sometimes get things wrong and then fix it. So I can't really flame them for that. Let's see if there's any registered source here. Shame. Let's just see if we can... Okay, so we want to go back to... Right, there's been no posts... Alright, never mind. Wayback Machine's not helping us. We're just going to have to accept that, actually, they've probably done what they said they were going to do. You're all right. Yeah, alright. Cool. Well, that's something. That is something. We can close this all down now. Tell you what, we can go back to this page here. Amazing. Much, much better. Well, the new magic items are pretty cool, eh? I have not had a huge amount of time to actually theory craft around them, so I thought if I'm going to be sat doing it, why not sit and do it with you lot? Because you lot can give me your ideas. Because normally what I'll do, if I have an idea, I will use the knowledge that I have, but I'll also go to like the old world app, tau.whfb.app, and I'll search, whatever. Armor piercing? I can't remember. So, I'll find a phrasing that I want to put in there, and usually just look at an item that I know works that way, and then copy and paste the specific wording in there, and then you can find more things that work that way. But if there's just loads of you telling me all the things that I've missed, that'll make my life easier as well. You've theory crafted the head out of it. Double Doppel Archmage, that's all I need. I did think, you know what? Because I have looked at them, obviously. I did think Doppelganger, this is, Doppelganger casters. I was talking about wanting to do it. Kind of eating good. I feel like there's some options here. Evening, Brian. Not illiterate, just a hazy memory. Very good. Meteor Hammer equals Doppelhammer for anyone. Yeah, that's absolutely true. I really like that as a concept. So we could, you know what, let's just start from the top. And I think what we'll do is we'll leave these two ones for later, because I think they're more fun. These two are the most fun ones. So let's warm up with some other bits and pieces. The first thing I want to think about is the Hellforged Axe. Is there anything that this works for specifically? I think this, to me, feels like just an upgrade over Sword of Might, but I don't know how much of an upgrade it feels like, because if your strength, your strength and AP is the same, the Armor Bane being 3 is nice, but if you're hoping to leverage the strength, you're going to want to be wounding on, probably 3s or at worst 4s from the Sword of Might. So you're going to be wounding on 6s, which means that actually you're not really getting any value out of the Armor Bane, or you're getting, like small value out of the Armor Bane if you're using a Sword of Might already. So that kind of sucks, honestly. This seems like, to me, the obvious place to put it is if you want to go for a Spectral Doppelganger caster, but you need to keep the weapon cheap. Like, if you want to go Lore Familiar and a Talisman of Protection and the Hellforged Axe, suddenly you can do that. So you could go for, I don't even know. if you theoretically had a Tomb King Lich Priest on Dragon. I don't even know if you can fit 90 points of equipment on them off the top of my head. You probably can. Their Dragon's pretty cheap. But that all fits in under 100 points. But then they've got a better weapon that does that anyway. So that doesn't even leap out at me particularly. But it is a 30-point weapon that you can use for Spectral Doppelganger and feel kind of okay about. And also we're in a world where armor values are higher than they were 6 months ago. You know, we've had armor value inflation. And we're probably going to see more units with decent armor value and decent toughness as well. Looking at you, Marauders. So I feel like this is fine. It's just not super exciting. Too expensive. Yeah. If this was 25 points, so it's 5 points more than a Sword of Might. I mean, I think the problem is I just find the Sword of Might super underwhelming. So if it was 20 points, I may be excited to take this. Cackling Sword and Block Chariot boss gets scary, yeah. Like, I think chariots are calling to me in a way that excites me. And I haven't really thought about for a little while, but obviously chariots are not as expensive as dragons. That's a shocking revelation for all, but it means you've got more points to stack on top of stuff. So if you go with the new Warriors of Chaos items, or not items, but like upgrades, you can stack lots of stuff there on like a Chaos Lord on Chariot, or an Exalted Champion on Chariot, or a Sorcerer Lord on Chariot. I think that's interesting. What's the baseline cast that's going to be okay with this for Doppel? Almost none, really. And they aren't getting the volume of attacks to justify paying for that Armor Bane, I guess. So, for me, this kind of fits if you want to do something like an Elf caster. That's the thing that jumps out. So if you're going for like a High Elf Mage, level 3, Spectral, or level 3 or level 4, depending on which path you want to go down, you give them the Calidor upgrade that gives them the you know, they've got full plate, they've got a barded Elven Warhorse as well, so they've got a 3-up armor save. It's a 30-point magic weapon. They've got a 6-up ward built in, and then you can go like a Cedar Rebirth and an Opal Amulet alongside this and a Lore Familiar. That's 100 points exactly. So Hellforged Axe, Lore Familiar, level 3, Cedar Rebirth, Opal Amulet. You're sure. So your Strength 4, your AP 1, your Armor Bane 3, but then you combo it with the Totem of Wrath, which I think is just such an exciting item. It's a shame that it's 50 points, because I don't know that the value you get from it is 50 points. If you compare it to the Banner of Hargoneth, which is objectively one of the best banners in the game, it's double the points. But it is choppers. It's the chopper rule on a banner for 50 points. Suddenly, when your Strength 4 AP 2 rerolling wants to wound with your Spectral Doppelganger, maybe inside a unit of Dragon Princes, and because you're in the unit of Dragon Princes, you're also bringing, you know, the Glittering Robes, so the unit's -1 to hit, and you're getting the Dragon Princes to AP 3. But then, is that even super worth doing? Because that unit doesn't necessarily need more volume. Like, that unit's already rocking 2 attacks at Strength 5 AP 2. And if you're putting the banner on anyway, it's 2 attacks at Strength 5 AP 3 and an attack at Strength 3 AP 1, and all of that's rerolling 1s to wound. So maybe you don't even need the rerolls there. Star Lance exists, though, as does the Meteor Hammer. 100%. But it's like, if you're looking for a cheap weapon. So, and the other thing that jumps out is if you're trying to do something with Spectral Doppelganger on an Outcast Wizard, because the Outcast Wizard only has 75 points worth of magic items. And I guess, to a similar level, if you wanted to do something with... Oh, God, what's it called? Not the Outcast Wizard. The elf one. The Seafarer? The Sea Fucker. Fucks the sea. Sea God Garrison can take them. I don't need to be in... Oh, fuck it. I think we might build a list for Sea God Garrison. Stormweaver. You know, so you go level 3. They only have 75 points worth of items. And then you could go, like, Lore Familiar... that item, and then 15 points, you can't even get a regen item. Oh, that's sad. So I actually think if you've got a 75 point, a character with 75 points worth of items, maybe you actually need it to be maybe you need it to be a 25-point item at max. That's pretty sad. Pretty sad. Maybe it's not that. It feels like it should do something. I feel like it's got enough potential. The obvious thing to combo this with is just anyone who's got extra AP built into their kit, which is, there's not many armies that can do that. Beastmen and Wood Elves are the ones that jump out. So, you know, you could put this on a Wood Elf Lord with the aspect of the boar, and then your Strength 5, AP 2, Armor Bane 3, but I feel like you can just do better things. You can just take a great weapon. Stormweaver is a gimped caster with literally this blessing. Gross, disgusting, imagine not drinking the bathwater. Well, what if I told you you could take a Tome of Spellcraft? And if you take the Tome of Spellcraft, you then become a proper elf caster. This thing's great. I'm so jazzed that this exists, because you can actually turn Dark Elf and Wood Elf casters into actual elf casters that have rerolls, which is nice. Something that has annoyed me for a while. It is 30 points, though, so I don't know if I'm actually doing that. It's just, you know, nice to be given the option. Nice to be given the option. Oh, you know what I haven't done? I should do the YouTuber stuff. If you're here and you haven't already, please give the stream a thumbs up. Helps get picked up by the algorithm. All of that good stuff. Here to talk about the new items. Having a fun time with that. Yeah. I don't need to do any more YouTuber stuff. That'll do. Not sure if I missed it, but the Sword of Sorrow seems like the best ranged option for the Wood Elf Waystalker. Name who I will struggle to pronounce. I'm going to have a rant about that. Not your comment. Your comment's correct. I'm going to have a rant about just why I'm annoyed that exists. So, Hellforged Axe. We can probably write it off as a, maybe there's a niche case for it, but there's nothing that's super exciting. Is it good on unit champions that can take 50 points worth of magic items? Probably not. I think you still just go Biting Blade or Sword of Might. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see it. The main thing is it allows you to go Spectral Doppelganger and a Lore Familiar and a Talisman of Protection. That's the main thing I see. But then you could have gone up to 40 points, or if you drop down to 20 points, like a Sword of Might, you can fit a Power Scroll in. So, yeah, I don't know. 30 points is awkward. Yeah, I agree. Like I say, it does work well for specifically the Elf caster, the one that can go in the unit of Dragon Princes. I'm just not sure if you need that oomph there. But like I say, you go Blood of Calidor, you put them on a Barded Elven War Steed, you give them the full plate Chaos Armor, full plate High Elf Armor for free. Freudian slip there. Give them Lore Familiar, Hellforged Axe, Seed of Rebirth, and a Power Scroll, and that's like an okay Spectral Doppelganger caster. And you also give them the banner whose name has immediately fallen out of my brain. Banner of Totem of Wrath on the unit. Like, that feels okay. I think that's the one that jumps out. You could do a similar sort of thing with the Dark Elf caster, but the difference with the Dark Elf caster is the Dark Elf caster doesn't get to be super tanky in the way that the High Elf caster does. So, Wood Elf Ranger champs. Is that about the only thing you could... Would you put it on the Wood Elf Rangers? I'm not sure. Not sure that does much. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong with that. Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't leap out at me as anything exciting. So let's talk about the Sword of Sorrow. God, I'm going to have a rant about this thing. Sword of Sorrow. Not only do we have the indignity of the humans, the filthy empire, having better ranged weapons than us, the Wood Elves. Not only do we have to deal with the horror, the upsetting reality of, High Elves, the haughty elves instead of the shooty elves, having better ranged weapons than us. 2 of them, by the way. We also now have to deal with every goddamn faction in the game having a sword that is better than every bow we have on our list. And my god, that's annoying. Now, again, it is only AP1. so that is a downside. But 30-inch range, strength 5, AP 1, armor bane 2, multiple wounds 2, no regen, no ward save for 30 points. Oh, you know what that does? That kills Banshees real dead. Real dead. As I think it was AKP says, you put that on a Waystalker, suddenly it can snipe Banshees, and there's an actual reason for it. Jonathan, I've just noticed your comment. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Yeah, like, the Waywatcher to snipe Banshees is probably, like, the number one use case for this thing. Ugh. I'm so annoyed. I'm so annoyed. As a Wood Elf enjoyer, although not somebody who gets to play them on the tabletop very often. I don't actually own a Wood Elf army. I bought some 3D prints secondhand, but I've come to the realization that I hate 3D prints for spindly models, so that just they never went anywhere. But yeah, this thing is so good on a Waywatcher, and I think the other thing that jumps out is putting it on High Elves, putting it on, you know, the unit champions of Sisters of Avalon. I know they've already got 2 very good items in a Ruby Ring, and they've also got the Bow of the Seafarer, but you've got loads of points for characters, so maybe you've got the opportunity to put it on, you know, one of those. It's just an additional bit of ranged output, and having another character that can hold this is good. You know what I would have loved, though? You know what I would have absolutely loved? Is if it didn't key off ballistic skill. If it used your weapon skill instead of ballistic skill, because it's a sword. Why don't they have it? You know, given the flavour of Sword of Sorrow, why don't you just say, well, it's used by people who are really good in combat, and you could just give it a different angle instead of just giving every army in the game a pretty decent ranged weapon? Why not say, you know, that character that you don't want to be, you know, it's a good melee character, so you want it to be in combat as soon as possible. Cool. What if we give it a magic weapon for 30 points that does a shooting attack? I think that's interesting. Demon Prince is a ballistic skill 5 throwing swords. Yeah, maybe. If you're taking like a blaster caster, that could be solid. Would it be funnier to put it on an Orc Marauder or something? The problem is that the things that it's funny to put it on all have bad ballistic skill, which is a real shame. I think the minimum you want for this to go on is ballistic skill 5, whereas I actually can't remember off the top of my head the stat line of a Lord of Chaos's weapon skill. Lord of Chaos. Chaos Lord. I'm sure it's like 5 or something. 3? God damn. Let's have a look at the Marauder Chieftain. 3. Yeah, okay. So this is not going into my Chaos list. I'm sorry, Chaos. You got literally everything else. You're going to have to deal with not having having the sword. Although, again, you know, the Demon Prince being ballistic skill 5 is not a bad shout. The Demon Prince, does it have worse ballistic skill? Oh, no, because it can't take magic items, of course. Sword of Sorrow on an Empire General. Yeah, the problem is they've got the Dragon Bow, which is just objectively better, in my opinion. The higher strength and AP overcome the fact that it turns off Wart and Regen. Yeah, I don't know. This makes me very tempted to look at putting Waywatchers into my my Wood Elves list, though. So, gonna have to play around with that for sure. Viper says the second small unit of Sisters dropped the Ruby Ring of Ruin real fast when they saw this. Do you think it's better than a Ruby Ring of Ruin? Like, it's fine. But remember, you're trading off the Bow of Avalon, which, sure, it's only strength 3, but it's also AP 1, armor bane 2, and a magical attacks. But it's not multiple wounds. Like, it is an upgrade for the unit champion. Don't get me wrong. Like, is it enough of an upgrade that it's better than a Ruby Ring of Ruin? Ruby Ring is just kind of unreliable. That's a skill issue, and you should learn to roll better. Nicholas says, the sword is for your High Elf Shadow Stalker of Tracian Hunter. Okay, yeah. That works thematically. I like it. I'm assuming because the Sword of Sorrow is classified as a missile weapon, you can only shoot it once, even if you have multiple attacks. No, you... Oh, sorry, yeah, once per turn. I thought you meant as in you throw the sword, and then it never comes back. Gatemaster is ballistic skill 4. That is disgustingly bad. That's really disappointingly bad. But you know what probably isn't? Let's have... Oh god, I can't spell Shigengan. Fortunately, Cathay is at the top. Oh, they're ballistic skill 3? Oh, I forgot about that. It's because they have the option to take a pistol, but you never do because the ballistic skill's so bad. You know who is interesting? Renegade Crowns. Obviously, any new core items are way more exciting if we're looking at specifically Renegade Crowns, because they have less magic items to go for. You rant about the ballistic skill all the time. I probably do. I think every time I see it, it annoys me, and then I forget because it's such a, like, I guess, inconsequential stat. What I was thinking is if you went for the Shigengan General, you could take a caster blaster. So you'd take battle magic or something, you roll your spells, you swap into the magic missile there as well, and then you throw the throwing weapon, and you've got a relatively cheap mobile damage platform that can do some mixing it up in melee. Ballistic skill 4 here for the Renegade Prince, which is fine, because then you go with the... I forget which one it is. I think it's the... Infamous Origins. Is it Noble Outlaw? Yeah, Noble Outlaw gives you ballistic skill. But, I mean, you're getting a gun there anyway. And I know it's different range, but you can either go for a handgun or a repeater pistol. Both of those just kind of seem like... I don't know if I'm going to pay 22 points more than either of these, depending on the role of the unit is. Strategist on a balloon is ballistic skill 4. Yeah, the strategist is depressingly low. About 3 to 4 streams now. Oh, it's obviously I'm in my gas leak era. I'm just forgetting everything. Sword of Shadow on Dark Elf Assassin with Manbane. Okay, now we're cooking. I definitely can't spell assassin either. God, that's upsetting. I am vaguely dyslexic, before you all bully me for that. So we're looking at ballistic skill 7, so that's solid for an assassin. They're also pretty cheap, right? I want to say they're like 80 points or something like that. Dark Venom. Ooh. Killing Blow. Killing Blow. I know you said Manbane. Let's have a look at Manbane. Always wound on a 4+. I mean, your strength 5... I know that means that you're +1 to wound against specifically dragons. That's okay. What does Black Lotus do? Okay. So I heard you were relying on your general. So I'm going to take an assassin with the Black Lotus poison. I'm going to do 2 wounds with the Sword of Sorrow. And then you're going to be -2 to your leadership for the rest of the game. Good luck protecting yourself against, I don't know, all of the leadership bombing that you can do with Dark Elves. It's a fun thought, though. That's a fun thought. Jacka says, since Sword of Shadow is 30 points, you can't have your Empire Captain use it since he already has White Cloak. There we go. It's unfortunate. Unfortunate. You could put it on a Handmaiden. Arrows of Isha should work with it, giving it an extra AP1 and Armor Bane 1. Isn't Arrows of Isha only specifically with the bows that they use? Yeah, it's so any bows has Armor Bane 1 and AP1, and it's very much not a bow. It's a sword. That is unfortunate. Shame. Killing Blow on an item that allows no wars. Yeah, that is true, but we're a very expensive character at this point. I need to... Alright, how much is... even though I'm a Dark Elf player, I don't think I've ever put one of these into a list. So 80 points. The poisons are... So Manbane is 15. Oh, wow! They are working fast. You know what? I've never actually looked at who... Nico Thebes. Well, Nico, you're a top man for having everything on here so quickly. That's pretty incredible. I'm genuinely impressed. That completely took me out. I was not expecting to see them in here. Okay, cool. That makes building stuff much easier. Much easier. Evening Hober. Doesn't Killing Blow specify being in combat? I don't think so, because you can Killing Blow... I think... Don't Weight Watchers have Killing Blow? I could be talking on my backside. Maybe that's a previous edition. Ba. Low. And if it is a previous edition, then oh yeah, no, it does specifically say in combat. Ah, but okay. Here's my pitch. It's a sword, so surely the sword should be able to killing blow from ranged. Steve says, what are we doing here is the new stuff on Army Builder. The new stuff's on Old World Builder, which is pretty incredible. But we're theory crafting. We're talking. So we've skipped the first two items so far. We're going to come back to those later because these ones are the most fun ones. So we're going to warm up with some other stupid stuff. So we've talked about how the Hellforge Axe probably is terrible for everything. And we've gone through various options for the Sword of Sorrow, like how it's the best bow you can get for Wood Elves, which is pretty funny. Very disappointing, but pretty funny. But also you can... we thought you could give an assassin, a Dark Elf assassin this, and give it Killing Blow, but it turns out Killing Blow is combat only. That's really disappointing. Really disappointing. No Dr. Big Squigs. Yeah, or the other name. Imagining some guys with 30-foot lightsabers. Yeah, that would be incredible. If you model it so it's got a 30-inch weapon, we're going back to the days of you're not allowed to measure, so we've got to find ways around it. It's like, oh no, my model with the long sword, it's because he can kill people from long range. Don't worry about how the fact it's exactly 30 inches from the edge of his base. Don't worry about that. Just a handmaiden, even without Arrows of Isha, Ballistic Skill 7, ignore and cover is a decent way to make it work. Yeah, absolutely. High Elves are definitely going to be putting this into this list. It's just where you're sort of fitting it in more than anything else. High Elves, shooting-focused High Elves, I should say. Wounding Dragons on a 4+ is still good. It's not bad, but then you're only AP 1, and the dragons that you want to kill are usually going to have a 3-up armor save. So you've got to hit... let's assume that you hit. You're going to have a good ballistic skill, whoever you put it on, so you're more likely than not to hit. So we'll just take that out for now. But then you've got a 50% chance to wound, and you've got a 50% chance to get through the armor save, and then you do 2 wounds. So you're averaging out 0.5 wounds. So over the course of 6 turns, if you got to shoot that dragon for 6 turns, and you hit every time, you're doing 3 wounds, which is... Steve says, my sword is 30 feet, but it's a grower, not a shower. You should see a medical professional, my friend. No saves or ward saves. There's no regens or ward saves allowed. You still get to make the armor save, unfortunately. Yeah, so no ward or regen, but you still get to make the armor save because it's only AP 1. Yeah. It's unfortunate, but... Speaking of Saurus, Lizardman... What are the stats on the Saurus characters? I'm pretty sure Saurus characters have terrible leadership. But what about the Skink Chieftains? I'm pretty sure Skink Chieftains have like a disappointing Ballistic Skill 4. Or Skink Chief. Or Ballistic Skill 5. Okay. I could see this. You know, the Skink Chief is pretty cheap. What about the Skink Priest? Because I don't really have much reason to take a Skink Chief. Ballistic Skill 3. Terrible. Terrible. So it's probably not going there. Saurus, I think Saurus heroes might be Ballistic Skill 1. Let's just double check. Old Blood. Ballistic Skill 0. Good luck with that. Yeah. Antonio, unfortunately, Killing Blow is melee only. I'm afraid to report back. We've been corrected, so it doesn't work. But yeah, okay. So I'm not loving it for Lizardman. I don't think maybe an Outcast Wizard has. I think they're only Ballistic Skill 3. Yeah, so they're Ballistic Skill 4 when you give them Noble Outlaw, but then I'm just giving them a pistol because they're going in with my unit of horses anyway. Speaking of, actually, let's just very quickly sidetrack. I have placed an order for the army I'm going to build into Renegade Crowns, and I got it for about 150 quid, the entire army. And these are Wargames Atlantic Conquistadors. And this kit is, the reason I went with it, is it has handguns, it has shields, it has two-handed weapons, / something that could be used as halberds. It also has models that have armor on. So this feels like, to me, a really good plastic kit that's going to be representative of all of the sellswords, veteran and otherwise, I want to make. In the same line, we've got... Oh, nope, those are more conquistadors. Alright, I'm not sure where the rest of the models are. I did just move them out of the way earlier. There's some heavy cavalry or something like that. And also there's the ogres as well. Better those than having to wait 3 months for the Games Workshop made horse conquistadors. Yeah, absolutely. Does it come with lizard pox blankets? Yep, it does indeed. But Vamps are probably like Ballistic Skill 7 just because. You know what? Let's find out. What character would we want to put it on for vampire counts? I mean, I bet the Necromancer has poor ballistic skill, and I bet the Whites and the Tomb Banshee... Oh, Tomb Banshees can't take magic items, can they? No, they can't. Man, if you could put a ranged weapon on a Banshee, oh, that'd be amazing. But yeah, so let's have a look at the Necromancer, Ballistic Skill 3, the White King, Ballistic Skill 0, very good. That makes sense. Vampire Count, Vampire Thrall. 5 and 4, respectively. Can Khanwraiths take magic items? I don't think they can either. Pretty sure they can't, in fact. Vampire Counts. Doesn't matter what it is. Khanwraith, yeah, nothing there. Nothing there. So, probably not vampire counts. Warhammer armies. Okay, let's just go down the list here. Chaos Dwarves. I could see Chaos Dwarves being happy with this. The Sorcerer Prophet has Ballistic Skill 4. Again, that's just kind of low. Like, anything below 5, and I'm not feeling good about this. So, maybe it's not. Dark Elves. I mean, the Sorceress is probably only Ballistic Skill 4 as well, right? Yeah, she's 4. That's no good. High Beastmasters? I don't really care about it on a High Beastmaster. Ballistic Skill 7. Don't know why my dark mode turned off there. That was bizarre. Doomfire Warlocks. No, nothing like that. Dwarves can't take it. Empire, Cathay, High Elves, Bretts. I mean, if there's a cheap character that we can... God, it's really weird that it's turned off my dark mode. I feel blinded. Ballistic Skill 2 on a Sergeant at Arms. Amazing. And a Prophetess is Ballistic Skill 3. Okay, so it's just not going on either of those. Orcs and Goblins. Ooh, what if? What if? It's like a Night Goblin Big Boss or Oddkit. Good Ballistic Skill. 3 and 3. Nope, terrible. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we've kind of found all of the spots that we're excited to put that in. Oh, Skaven. You know what? Take it back. You know how you have to take a Warlock Engineer to unlock things? Ballistic Skill 3, never mind. Warlock Engineers feel like they should have good Ballistic Skill, but what do I know? You could take a Master Assassin, but like we're just coming into, you know, hey, Ballistic Skill 7, but why am I taking one anyway? It doesn't unlock anything and it doesn't really do much, so... Yeah, whatever. We don't have to worry too much about that. So Sword of Sorrow, yeah. Does that mean White Kings can't throw a stone? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Bretts are at most Ballistic Skill 3. Does make sense. You know, it'd be rude to give them the opportunity to hold a weapon. Skaven Assassin. You can put it on a Skaven Assassin, but you just don't put them into lists anyway. So it's what I'm looking for. Armies where you're taking them anyway, and you can just layer it on top. So it kind of just like the elves are the ones that jump out. Demons can't take it. Beastmen. I'm pretty sure Beastmen across the board have just Garbonzo ballistic skill. Beastlord is 3. Shaman is 3. Dubul is 3. Yeah. Centaur. Centaur's 3. Yeah. I mean, if you go City State and Nuln, this obviously fits in quite nicely if you just wanted to put a little bit more oomph in there. I guess we know the generals of the generals and captains of the Empire are Ballistic Skill 5. Witch Hunters, are they 4? Yeah. Engineers, they must be 5. Nope, they're 4 as well. I mean, you can fit it somewhere in Empire. Empire is super cheap. Seaguard Garrison Commander on a Griffin, because there is an interesting item in here that I specifically think works for a Seaguard Garrison Commander and not much else. But we'll get to that one. We'll get to that one. Putting it on an assassin would mean you could pop it out of a unit and blast someone. It would mean that. Let's just have a look here. I think... Do you have to be in combat to... Spinning an assassin. Start of any turn or start of any combat phase. Okay, so you can just reveal them whenever. That is fine. That makes sense. I was thinking it was going to be like, oh, you've got to get into combat before you can reveal them, which would be terrible. Truly, truly terrible. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not... I think the ways to use this one are pretty obvious. We've got that. Skeleton Infantry Cohort Champion. Okie dokie. I'm wondering if Skeleton Infantry Cohorts have... Oh no, they're all Ballistic Skill 2 across the board. So you always hit in 5s. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Why not just take Dragon Bow instead of Sword of Sorrow for the Empire characters? You take both. Because, like, you're paying 55 points plus the characters for 2 good shooting characters. How about a VC Lord at Ballistic Skill 5? Go Renegades for the 3 up, 5 up, 5 up. Stick on an Abyssal Terror with top. Sword of Sorrow, Law Familiar, and Great Weapon, as you can't use the sword in combat. Like, you can do that, but I just think if you're going that heavy into a melee character, you want it to be in melee. You said you can't make a good High Elves Grand Army list without Dragons or Sisters with Infantry. Yeah, so obviously we've had it confirmed that we're getting an FAQ in January, the end of January. What if... Oh, it doesn't have Arrows of Asp. Yeah, okay, never mind. It's not going on the skeletons. What was I saying? Yes, we've confirmed that we're getting an FAQ at the end of January, which is obviously fantastic. I'm hoping, and this is not something that I know, there's no like nudge, nudge, wink, wink, we're getting. This is, I genuinely haven't got a clue. But I would love to see a... all infantry are able to score, and then anything else in core is able to score. Unit strength 10. Because then we'd start seeing stuff like Swordmasters and Phoenix Guard, and I think that would be an interesting design space. Either that, or we just get them to really, really quickly print loads of arcane journals so that everyone who has good core infantry, that isn't, sorry, good non-core infantry gets to use it. That'd be nice. New magic two-handed weapon. Should work on Elf Lords with high initiative. Yeah. Yes, indeed. I do like the Meteor Hammer for Elves. You're welcome, Nicholas. Do Skink Chief and Sword of Sorrow? Yeah, that is... So we were having a look at it for Lizardman, and the problem I'm having with Lizardman is I don't really want to take a Skink Chief anyway. And if I take a Skink Priest, which is like usable in other ways, I'm not excited about spending... however many points on a Skink Chief and 30 points for a sword. Would it work with Razor Banner? It would, yeah. I mean, it's already Armor Bane 2, so you're AP 3 on 6s to wound. Like, theoretically, yes, you'd get it to AP 5, and then nothing in the game would have armor against it, but I think that's... There are two sorts of combos. There are ones that are objectively not good, or are like overkill and not necessary, but are funny, and that falls into that camp. Or there's like... Hey, let's do some stupid thing with Spectral Doppelganger, like Monkey Paw's Wisdom. A Monkey King's Wisdom. That's actually incredible, and it kills loads of things. I would say it falls more into the first camp there. But if you're doing it for fun, I'm not opposed to it. What weapon unit combo are you most excited for Chaos? As in, for the Marauders, I really like just the basic Marauders with +1 toughness. I know it gets them up to, 9 points with a shield, but you've got T4 models with a 4-up save in combat for 9 points. That feels okay. Meteor Hammer on Archmage with Illusion. Get rid of yourselves. But yes, that is the thing that I'm pretty excited about. Pretty excited about. All right. We'll come back to the other, like, the two fun weapons later. Let's have a look at the other stuff. Obviously, these are just screenshots taken from the square-based video. Apologies for the cropping. Got the Levitating Shield for 25 points. It's infantry only, but it gives you a shield on top of your great weapon, or any weapon with a two-handed rule. This feels fine, and I think, like, there's not... I'm not looking at this and going, oh, I specifically want this for such reason. But I feel like for 25 points, just getting you to a better save is nice. The thing that immediately jumps out at me is if we go Beastman. I'm not sure there's enough points here. So Grand Army Beastman, let's go for the Doom Ball. I really like the Doom Ball with the Axe of Korgor, 40 points. +1 strength, AP -2, extra attacks +1, but it takes 2 hands. Full plate chaos armor. And then we've only got 20 points. So we can't quite fit it in. That's a shame. That is a shame. Yeah, like if there's any good two-handed weapon that you're like, oh, I need to have a shield with this for general use. Like for Bretonnians, the Frontier Axe, but you're always putting that on a peg. And this is infantry only, so I think it's literally just I want a character with a great weapon, but also to have a shield. I think that is the only sort of use case here. But often you're going to find that the best characters that are using a great weapon that you really, really want a shield on are going to be like riding on a monster or on a horse, because it's hard to get above a 3-up save on foot anyway. So dropping down to a 4-up save on foot is less of a downside. It's, you know, it's objectively better, but I don't know if I want to spend 25 points on it. Whereas on a monster, you want to cap out that 3-up armor save. And if you're riding like a barded steed, getting to a 2-up save with a great weapon feels pretty good. So if you were like knightly orders, White Wolf, you have to use the 2-handed wolf hammer. But then you're going to take this, so you've got up to a 2-up save between your full plate barding and the levitating shield. I can see that. Should have seen that. I came away from the leaks thinking my existing 48 Marauders are probably enough. Yeah, probably. Like, I think one big unit feels really good. The second unit's probably fine as well, but like I like a unit of like 25 to 30. Sea Guard for the Skycutter or Phoenix Mount, and here we go. No way that we could use Doppelganger with the Sword of Sorrow. Yeah. So someone like it might have even been you, Jay. Someone has previously pointed out that there's nothing saying that you have to use a melee weapon with Spectral Doppelganger. Now, I would argue that you're going to get clipped upside the ear if you try and pull that off at the tabletop. But it's funny, you know. It's worth talking about in a sort of like, did you know this? And then it, you know, you never use it, but you've talked about it. High Elf Prince with Warden or Lawmaster that gets the Swordmaster Sword. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, I said great weapon, but, you know, two-handed weapon, it's the same sort of thing. A Black Orc could be a 2-up with a great weapon and Troll High Trousers. Absolutely. Yeah, so you can do stuff like that with a lot of factions, where you get to attack with a great weapon and still have a 2-up save. I think my problem with it is more, when am I taking like an expensive character on foot that I want to get to a 2-up save? And if I'm doing it, am I doing it because it's tanky, or am I doing it for the output? If I'm doing it for the output, I'm probably wanting the character to be more mobile, so it can bring the output somewhere. So like, you can't even use it on a horse, which is a little bit annoying. And if I'm wanting the character to be tanky, but not taking it for the damage, then is there a downside to just using hand weapon and shield, or like a Morningstar and shield in the case of the Renegade Crowns? So yeah, this, like, I'm sure there are places for this, but I'm struggling to see what the most exciting one is. Now, if you could combo it with a second shield for your hand weapon shield, that'd be pretty cool. I'd be on board for that. Stacks with an Ogre Iron Fist for double shields, which is neat, I guess. If we're talking legacy, I think you're technically not allowed to buy shields, unless there's a disclaimer on there. There might be. Let's have a look at this. Iron Fist. Yeah, I don't know that you're allowed to buy shields if you're an ogre player, technically. Might be something limited. Or shield. Yeah, absolutely. Beastman could likely make some use out of it. Yeah, probably. Yes, Brian. I'm super looking forward to the next FAQ. I was hoping it was going to be beginning of January, but end of January is fine. You know, it's the difference to for most people. It's 0 to 1 offense difference, so it's not a huge deal. You don't have to use a melee weapon, but you are making attacks in combat, and you cannot use ranged weapons. Then, yeah, true. So, yeah, I think that's fine. Valuna says, sorry, should have said Chaos character in weapon combo. An Exalted BSB with War Banner on a chosen chariot with the extra attack sword seems like a sickening little package. I do like that, but instead of War Banner, you probably go for the Totem of Wrath, and then you can have it at AP2 instead of AP1. I think that's probably going to be valuable there. Cool. So we looked at the Levitating Shield, the Trailblazers Hauberk. Now, this is an interesting item, and I do quite like this one. So for 20 points, you get a suit of heavy armor that also gives you move through cover and scout, and I think that's everything it does, even though it's cropped off. You know what you can do? You can take a Stormweaver. You can go... Where's it gone? It's in the common armor. I've gone too far, because all of the stuff's normally down at the bottom if it's any good. Wait. Oh, I've clicked Stormweaver again. I meant the Garrison Commander. So, Garrison Commander. Trailblazers Hauberk. 20 points. And then, where's it gone? God, my brain's fried. Bow the Seafarer. Why? Because it's got through and through. That's, I think, the best I can find here. Is that you scout forwards a character and then immediately start getting the through and through shots. Is this a fundamentally flawed approach? I think so, because if you're taking a scout, you're giving up the +1 to go first in most games, which means that your opponent's going to go first, and then your positioning is kind of moot because they can respond to you. Can you turn one charge from scout? You cannot, unfortunately. You cannot. So, yeah, this is... It's a funny combination. For sure, with the Seaguard Garrison Commander. I don't know if it's a good combination, but it's a funny combination. Other than that, I'm not 100% sure there's anything that's super exciting you can do with it. Like, you could get a lot of the characters that you might want to put it on to, like, for example, if you're going like, oh, we're going to take the Waywatcher with the Sword of Sorrow, and I want to get it into a good position, they already come with Scout, so, yeah. If you give it to a unit champ, you make your unit Scout. I'm fairly confident that it has to be the entire unit on the scout rule. Units with a special rule mode. Oh, it does not clarify. It does not clarify. If you can scout, like, a skeleton infantry cohort, that's a horrifying thought. Like, I'm doing that. Champion gets scout, it doesn't mean the unit doesn't, so no. Well, now we're into the slightly unclear. I would say no, but I know that some people are going to argue yes. I can't believe that out of all of the rules that they put into the book that said, as long as the entirety of this unit has this rule, and they didn't put it like this. I guess they didn't think they had to. It's quite clear because the unit has to have scout. Well, does the unit get scout from the armor? Who can say? I don't think it's worth arguing semantics. I personally don't think it works, but people are going to say that it does, and it really highlights why I cannot be bothered to argue about Warhammer rules, because it kind of comes down to who has, who reads English in a certain way. A character joining a scouting unit doesn't gain scout, so I suppose it doesn't work in reverse. But you can't join a unit with scout, because scout is a rule that happens before deployment, or like at the end of deployment. So you can't join a character to a scouting unit because the scouting unit hasn't been deployed. Let's move on, because I think it's silly. Then we've got what I'm assuming is the Talisman of Fortitude, which is infantry or cavalry only, immune to multiple wounds X. If the wounder is wounded by an attack with a special rule, they suffer a single wound. This is like the place that this is best, because it's infantry or cavalry only. The place that this is absolutely best is in Bretonians, and Bretonians have it already for 10 points cheaper. So what am I interested in putting this on? I guess we are in a meta where there's lots of cannons. So, you know, having the ability to deal with cannons and not get chunked out is quite nice. But again, infantry or cavalry only. Chariots? Nope, they're not chariots. It's literally infantry or cavalry only. Stuff on monstrous cavalry is not bad. But if you're giving it this, you're not giving it a ward save from like a talisman of fortitude. So like wood elves, you could put this on a stag to be immune to multiple wounds. But you can't also give it a consistent ward save. Right? You can give it a regen from the armor. Yeah, I don't know. Like, let's just have a quick look. So, Beastmen, you don't really run solo. Chaos Dwarves, oh, you know who could take it? How many points is it? It's 35 points. So it's a little bit pricey, but you could put it on a T6 Bull Centaur Torok. That's not bad. So you go for 1 Mantle of Stone, 1 Charmed Shield, and the Icon of Fortitude. Oh, Icon of Fortitude, not a Talisman of Fortitude. Okay. So that gets you to T6, but you're immune to multiple wounds. That's not an awful loadout. I don't hate that at all. Who else can we put it on here? Not anyone here. Lizardman, maybe? I mean, do I want to... Lizardmen only have 3 wounds on there, which is fine, but not exciting. Warriors of Chaos Demonic Mounts. I guess they don't need a talisman, so you could go... Oh, you could go on a Demon Prince, actually. That kind of slaps. I do not hate that at all. If you go... I've scrolled too far down because I am a fool. Icon of Fortitude. Fly. What else are we giving it? Meteoric Iron. So we've spent 55 points already on the magic items. Probably want to give it something. Normally you see Ogre Blade, but that's not going to work out. Or I guess you could go Ogre Blade and drop the No, we can't go Ogre Blade because it's 70 points now. 75 points. Could give it one of the new weapons, but I don't love that. I feel like a Demon Prince is not a bad place for this to go. Slan can take it. Yeah, that's true. Slan don't have inbuilt ward saves, do they? Surely they do. They, again, like you can tell when a unit is not something that's commonly played because I've just forgotten what it does. Arcane Shield. So it does have a 5-up ward save. I feel like not having a 4-up ward save almost feels criminal. Oh, no, Slan can't take it because they're monsters. Monstrous creature. If you're talking renegades, then you can put it on them, I guess. But here you specifically can't. Pegasus Wizards. Yeah, true. True. Can't woodies get a 6-up ward from tattoos? They can do. I think a 6-up ward is rarely worth having if you have to pay points for it, but it is an option. Chaos Lord and Demon Steed joining Skinwolves, Ogres in general. I've been wanting to... You know what? Actually, that's a really good shout. So the Chaos Lord on a demonic mount joining Skinwolves, because it can be targeted. So your baseline toughness 5 with 4 wounds, you get +1 wound from the demonic mount, but you don't get any plus toughness. If you want it to be super tanky, which I don't know that I care about that much. Is it demonic plate mail gives you +1 toughness? So you can be toughness 6 and immune to multiple wounds. Ironhide Talisman. And then we've got 20 points left. Brazen Collar. Like, that's a T6 model that is immune to multiple wounds that can run around on its own. Like, this just, like, default. Give it a great weapon and a shield. So I've got a 3-up save. But, I mean, you're T6. You're a mini Demon Prince. I was going to say a dragon, but... Yeah, like, that's something. I don't know what we'd be giving it here. I'm not sure there is anything that's super exciting. And then again, like, we don't need demon flesh. The extra attack only gives us a great weapon attack. Give it enchanting or is it diabolic splendor? I always get these two mixed up. Enchanting aura, like something like this. I mean, it's expensive for, you know. And sure, it's 5 attacks, strength 7, AP 2, skill 7. That's like not bad. And he's very tanky, but that's kind of all it brings. Warhawk or Eagle Wood Elves. I'd prefer the Stag Lord. So if you're going for a stag, I think the way that we do it is we'll go Glade Lord, usually great weapon, but we'll come back to that. Great stag, and we'll go. So the problem you have with the stag is you really, really would like either Helm of the Hunt or Bedazzling. Is it called Bedazzling Helm or is it just called Dazzling Helm? Bedazzling Helm. One of those two to get you to a 2-up armor save is really nice. But there's a new 20-point heavy armor. No, fuck. It's infantry only. God damn it. Why couldn't they have printed heavy armor for 20 points? Oh, that's really annoying. Because if this was, if this wasn't just infantry only, if it was infantry or cavalry only, then you could, for 20 points, just have a unit, like heavy armor, which could go on the Stag Lord. That would have been nice. All right, never mind. But yeah, like, so you either get immunity to multiple wounds, or you get, you know, the 2-up save, and then one of the other bonuses, like Helm of the Hunt. Helm of the Hunt, Talisman Protection, if you just want to run around sort of solo, and you take a shield on there as well. They're a great weapon. And then you can take Spites and Kindreds, but like it works here. It's fine. It's not something that I'm like excited to build around, but if I'm playing Wood Elves anyway, I might fit it into the list. Stag Lord gets ward by default. I don't think it does. Why do you think he gets a ward from default? The aspect of the bear is obviously the kindred that we go for to give it +1 strength and toughness. What if you give it the kindred for stag? Which one do you mean? The Wild Rider kindred? I would not be giving a Stag Lord the Wild Rider kindred if I want it to run around solo. You can't have Frenzy on a 360-degree charging unit. And if you aren't, like, if you're not in a unit, sorry, if you're in a unit, so you can screen it with like your Wild Riders, because there is reason to go Wild Rider kindred on a stag, because the stag is one of the only things in the list that brings first charge. Chicken. I mean, tell you what, we'll play a game, you do that, and I will win. That sounds like the best trade deal. The best trade deal in the history of the channel. So there is a reason to take Wild Rider Kindred and put them in a unit. Like I say, you get you get the counter charge, so you can join the Kindred. You can add damage to them. You get first charge on the Great Stag there, and you can also, because you're getting the extra attacks, you can go with like the Dragon Slayer sword or something like that. Are there any elves that move into a wood during a game considered wood elves, at least until they leave? I mean, those sorts of semantics are not something I necessarily engage in. I'm not sure it matters for any rules-wise. But yeah, okay, cool. Well, we've gone off topic from the icon of fortitude, but it's fine. I just think that the most obvious place to put it already has Syrian's Locket. I kind of feel like Warriors of Chaos already have an item like that. Am I stupid? It feels like it's coming back to me now. Is Armor of the Damned? Nope. Crimson Armor? Yeah, there we go. Crimson Armor. Immune to multiple wounds. I mean, it's less points than that. Sure. But even the army that I'm thinking about putting it on already has access to it. You're joking? Yeah, no, it's not bad. I just was stun locked. Cool. Yeah, alright. Well, let's move on from the Icon of Fortitude. Icon of Fortitude. to the Ironhide talisman is the next one. So the Ironhide talisman is infantry only. Enemy models that make a successful roll to hit against the bearer of the Ironhide talisman during the shooting phase or combat phase must reroll any rolls to wound of a natural 6. That is interesting. So infantry only, and you're rerolling wounds of a 6, but auto hits automatically wound, and it's against the. So because it's infantry only, you're not getting much value out of the shooting side of it, and it doesn't work against magic missiles, and it doesn't work against auto hits. I guess there's not that many auto hits. I wonder how that interacts with the dwarf gun, where you roll to hit, but then you get 2d3 auto hits. Interesting. I would assume that it makes you reroll all of the wound rolls, but that probably needs clarifying somewhere. Someone else can argue about that one, and I will just nod my head or sigh in disagreement. Do cannons count as auto hits? Yeah, they absolutely do. Cannons count as auto hits. Anything that doesn't roll to hit. So, does a partial hit from a stone throw or a template count as an auto hit if you roll the 4? I assume. Lots of semantics there. Anyway. So, it doesn't help against Spectral Doppelganger, but you're making people reroll wound rolls of 6 against you. So the thing that jumps out at me immediately is you can stack this with Mark of Nurgle. So they have to reroll 6s to hit and then make them reroll 6s to wound as well. That's kind of cute. I don't hate that at all. It's much harder to layer negatives to hit, to wound than it is negatives to hit. In fact, I'm not sure if I can think of any off the top of my head in this game, and we should keep it that way, coming from 40k, which does have reroll or like stacking negatives to wound, or has in the past. Yeah, I can't think of many modifiers to wound. I can think of like you can't wound on an unmodified 2, but maybe I'm wrong with that, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Anyway, this is fine. I don't know that the Ironhide Talisman, again, is something that I'm super excited to build around. Because it's infantry. Anything that's going to be infantry only, I'm not really looking to take super tooled up characters on foot. Demon Princes is kind of any time that you can take some character that is technically infantry, but sort of breaks the mold of that, where I'm talking sort of like a Doom Bull or something. In this case, it gives you some value there, and I don't hate that. Oh, it doesn't work against stomps as well. Ooh. It is literally next to the Monster Hunter's tapestry, though. That's pretty funny. Okay, yeah, I don't know that this one's super exciting. I think we can move on from that one. We do have some exciting stuff to go to, though, which is the banners. So let's blast through the first one, because I might be wrong. Maybe I'm missing something super obvious, but Banner of the Steadfast kind of just seems bad to me. So infantry only, if they lose combat, so already we're planning to lose, which I don't love, it can fall back in good order even if the unit strength of the winning side is more than twice that of its own side. Cool. But you might still just roll really high. So, like, is that good? Instead of spending 50 points on that, should I just take another 10 5-point infantry? Good in a small unit, I guess. But yeah, how much value are you going to get out of it, given that it's going to lose combat? You know where this could be good? If you can make a super tanky battle standard bearer that you're going to use as almost like an unbreakable roadblock, and you just make sure that you're always over 6 inches behind where it's going to pivot. So you could go with like using a tanky chariot, like an exalted champion or aspiring champion chariot. Give them the ward save that, you know, they've got a ward save built in. They've got a regen save from an item. They've got this so that even though they're going to lose combat, potentially by a lot, and they're going to be double outnumbered because they're only unit strength 5, they're still only ever going to fall back in good order. That's an interesting angle for it. But, like, do I need that sort of roadblock in my life? But it's infantry only. So you can't even do that. Fuck. I thought I had something there. So it's literally just going to be units of infantry. I just don't see value here. Like, am I missing something? Monstrous infantry, miners and ogres, I guess. Yeah. Sure. You know what else you can get for 50 points? A stubborn banner. So the first time you lose combat, you just get to auto fall back in good order, which is basically what this banner does, but you just guarantee it. And you could argue, oh, but you get more value over the course of a game from the Banner of the Steadfast. But, like, if you're losing multiple combats, how many models have you got left to actually have value out of them? Something like Treekin could take a banner, but they can't. Yeah. I am bummed that you can't take a Battle Standard Bearer and put it in with Treekin, because they are trees. Because they are trees. So, yeah, this one feels like a swing and a miss to me. If you want to be really annoying, you can go Banner of the Steadfast and also the Stubborn Banner. Spend 100 points on banners, one of them on a BSB, one of them on a unit champion, and you just like, this unit's not going to run away for at least 2 or 3 turns. It's probably not good either. Big Brick of Seaguard. Again, like, I'd rather just give them the Stubborn Banner. Like, if we're doing anything. And Mark, when you say a big brick, that kind of like shows the flaw in it, in that it's only good when you're double outnumbered. And if I'm losing combat as infantry, I'm probably not losing an infantry versus infantry combat. I'm probably losing versus like multiple units of like, here's a monster, here's some cavalry or something like that. That's usually, I find, the things that hunt down infantry in Old World. So they're probably not double outnumbering me. Paying points to plan to lose. Warhammer can be done just by picking a crap army. Hey. Would be busted if it was half as much and could be taken by trolls. Again, like, if trolls could take banners, I'd rather just give them stubborn. I think that does the same job, but better. Although, you know what, Christian? I think you've got a point there. Because trolls are one of the few units that could do well with it. Because, specifically, they lose combat by so much with their double regen. So that they'll be losing combat a lot, but still, you know, they're still going to be beefy enough to get value out of them. But yeah. Alright, I did wonder if there was anything I was missing, but I guess not. Totem of Wrath. I love this. This is basically just choppers the rule on a banner. So it's on the turn you charged only, but gives you AP 1, or increase your AP by 1, and reroll wound rolls of a natural 1. This thing is, oh, so good. I've got some thoughts about what to put this on, and I've got one specifically that I want to talk about, but I'm gonna just talk about it generally, and I want to see if chat comes up with the same idea as me, because there was one thing that jumped out at me immediately, and it's a faction. I can say it's an army of infamy without giving too many spoilers, because most of the armies now have armies of infamy, but it's an army of infamy that I think no one, maybe ever in the history of since it's been released, has put this combination of models together, just because it's not worth doing. Gore. I don't hate Gore. Yeah. I think the problem with Gore is you're often not going to be getting the charge. But, like, it's not bad on Gore. Getting them to AP2 with Demonic Vessel is pretty cool. And then you could do the same with, like, a Warrior Brick. Even just putting it on Warriors with the Taskmaster Scourge and the new Chaos upgrade that gives them, you know, plus 2 inches on the declarable and an extra D3 on the charge range. Like, that feels pretty solid. Pelt of Midnight plus Swirling Wind. You're getting ahead of yourself, Saurus. That'll, we're still on Totem of Wrath. But yes, that's true. Cold One Knights. So I actually think Banner of Harganeth is better than this Totem of Wrath. The reason that Banner of Harganeth is so good is because it lets you grind through combat even after the point where you probably should have, you know, you're a heavy cavalry unit, you get 1 charge, and if you don't kill on the charge, you lose your value. Cold One Knights with the Banner of Harganeth get to just sit and grind through combat, and their frontage is insane. Especially before 1.5, but even still in 1.5, they've got 3 attacks at strength 4, AP 1. 2/3 of those attacks have Armor Bane on as well. So you're just grinding through. I found quite often they were like my answer to Pegasus Knights. You'd go into combat, you'd you'd charge them, they'd countercharge you, or they'd get a charge into you. The combat would go on and on and on, and they'd win the first round of combat, but you would win every subsequent round of combat, because you've got, if they've got 3 models and you've got a frontage of, like, I don't know, 5, you're making, 16 attacks into them? Hitting on 3s, wounding on 4s, all of its AP1, they're just going to start failing saves. Ripidactyls. Oh, that's spicy. I like that, Christian. 4 attacks against Toad marks. Reroll 1s for both hits and wounds. Need BSB, so probably not worth it, but a fun unit. I love that. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Like, that's the sort of fun stuff. Like, we're not just theory crafting the good stuff. We're theory crafting the fun stuff. And that is, I think, the best suggestion we've had for something that makes me go, oh yeah, I kind of want to do that. So we've got a 50-point banner on a Skink Chief. Oh god, they're so expensive. So we're going to go Ripidactyl, 35 points. Oh, okay, it's fine. It's fine. What weapon are we going to give them? Because we've got to give them some sort of weapon to make it worthwhile. How many attacks have they got? So we've got 3 attacks at weapon skill 4 with strength 4. Okay, so even with a Cav Spear, strength 5 AP2 reroll 1s is not awful, so we could probably just keep it cheap and go there. And then let's give them a charmed shield as well, and that's probably good enough. Staff of the Lost Sun. No. Piranha Blade is quite good off of my memory. Ooh, multiple wounds 2. The problem is you're only strength 4 natively, so I don't think that's actually good into anything that exists, but that's kind of cool. We all know Cold One Riders are bad, but why not Cold One Riders? You know what? I actually think Lizardmen maybe get the most value out of this. I think the big issue with Cold Ones for Lizardmen is that they lack AP across the board. They don't have like the best strength, but they bring a high volume of attacks. Up until now, those attacks have never been able to punch through. So yeah, I think Cold One Riders are a good suggestion as well. But so if we're putting it on the Skink Chief, which again we probably shouldn't, but let's just live a little. Let's get crazy, Let's go get brunch. So we're going to go with... I mean, 5 Ripidactyls, significantly cheaper than 5 Pegasus Knights. Now, significantly worse, but, it's something. So what do we got? We're T3 with 2 wounds. We've got a 5-up armor save. We've got 1 attack for the rider, which comes with a cavalry spear. Cool. We've got 2 attacks at strength 4. 2 attacks at strength 4, weapon skill 3. Oh god, weapon skill 2. That's so rough. It's fine. We're going to hit on 4s most of the time. So the Ripidactyls are going to do most of the work. They're 2 attacks at strength 4. And then we want to look at Toad Rage. So you pick a unit to put a blot on. And because we've got a chieftain and we've got a Ripidactyl, you don't even count the characters mounted on Ripidactyls? Okay, so a single blot toad marker is put on something. They get +1 attack and reroll 1s to hit. Do Ripidactyls have... Wait. Do Ripidactyls not have any AP on their attacks? Oh, that's disgusting. Oh, they've got Armored Hide, so they've got a 4-up save. And they've got Furious Charge. Okay, so the Ripidactyls kind of slap, though. So we've got 3 attacks each at strength 4. So it'll become 4 attacks at strength 4, AP1, reroll 1s to hit and wound. Okay, sure. Get the rerolls and hammer hand. Okay, sure. Yeah. I can live with that. Tried it on a unit assist to the Thorn as a bunker for a stag character. Interesting. That is interesting. They've only got hand weapons, but the actual mounts are strength 4, right? So the Steed of Ishas, they're going to be... I mean, that's kind of whatever. If only they had better weapons, but they have got a 4-up ward save. Okay, I can live with that. Hammerhand rerolls is nice. Mornfang Cav could also make this hard. Ooh. Let's have a look at Mornfang Cavalry here. So normally you go with a great weapon, but here you'd say go with the Iron Fist. I actually don't hate that at all, I really don't hate that, because you're usually going to put the Cannibal Totem on something infantry. So giving them the Totem of Wrath giving this character, maybe we don't need anything, but we give them heavy armor. So for 3 models, if we're putting that investment in it, we'll go for 355 points. This is beefy, but they do come with 4 wounds each. T4, 4 wounds, and they've got a 3-up armor save, and because they've got the Iron Fist, it gives them an extra attack. So they've got 4 attacks each, and then 3 attacks for the Mournfang. And the Mournfang have monstrous tusks, so strength AP -1, armor bane 1. So you've got 3 attacks at strength 5, AP 2, and then you've got 4 attacks at strength 4, AP 1. It's a blender. It doesn't have first charge, which is really sad, but yeah. I want to say ogres for all of these, but Iron Fist Bulls with the impact hits in the 4 attacks, AP 1 armor bane, maybe with the Dragonhide banner as well to reroll 1s to hit. Yeah, I can see that. Too bad Fanatics can't get a banner. Fanatics do pretty well all by themselves. That AP3 is a nightmare. But yeah, I really like this thing. I think it's a really solid banner. So, nobody said it in chat. Oh, here we go. Richard says, could give Brett's Pilgrim something to do while they stick around. They're probably not getting the charge, is the main thing. I didn't sketch it out in the Cold One Riders. Let me just very quickly see how many points. Cold One Riders, I don't... The thing I'm thinking is, can they take a magic standard? Oh, they can't. That's so sad. So you've got to go with a Scar Veteran, BSB, Banner of Steadfast. Here we're just going to go Grey Weapon, right? Cold One. Give them a Charmed Shield for 5 points, you may as well. I'm not sure there's anything else that we really need to put on them. Could give them could give them Magic Resist 2 and a Ward Save. Let's assume we're not doing that and we're keeping it cheap. Cool. And then obviously, you know, we're looking at 5 attacks between the 4 and the Furious Charge that you've got on this character, because Saurus characters are kind of stupid. Kind of dummy thick, you know. Would definitely go Drilled. Oh, wait, hold on, you can take a Magic Standard. Ooh, I missed that. Missed that entirely. Alright, so let's get rid of it. It was about 200 points for the character, but you could go for, like, a Death Star of 8 of them. You just can't. I mean, they've only got, what, is it a 4-up armor save? Armored Hide 1, shields. Okay, so they got a 3-up save. 37 points for a 3-up save model is just a little bit rough. Hey, Bruce! Bruce has got it. Jade Lancers. So, the thing that I was thinking about, and I didn't want to be too specific, because nobody really plays Jade Fleet, or nobody plays Jade Fleet for the Lancers, but we can go the Lancers. So let's say we go, I don't know, 9 of them. We're going to go full command. We're going to give them the Totem of Wrath. We'll give them probably Drilled. We could go for some of the other items there, but it doesn't matter too much. We could do a lot here. Alchemist Mask works, but we kind of don't need the Alchemist Mask. And we join them with a mercenary, Priest of Ulrich, which is going to have, I don't know, Great Weapon, Heavy Armor, Barded Warhorse, and a shield, Charm Shield, just in case. Something along these lines. Why are we going Priest of Ulrich? Well, for Jade Fleet, there's a couple of interesting rules that we want to work with. Unity and Harmony. So Jade Warriors and Jade Lancers within 3 inches of a friendly mercenary unit may reroll hit rolls of 1 during the combat phase. And remember that you can actually join mercenaries into the unit. Where does it say that specifically? Oh no, it doesn't say that specifically. The rule is that your characters can't join mercenaries, but there's nothing stopping mercenary characters from joining units. It's like the clumsy rule. There's no, like, it doesn't go both ways. Of course, you can do things differently. You could take this character with like an actual weapon. The meteor hammer is solid here, but I mean, you haven't got enough attacks. You could go for something nice and cheap, like if you wanted a little bit more punch, the pearl daggers go pretty hard here. Strength 4, AP 2 with an extra D3 attacks. The reason I like the Priest of Ulrich is, first of all, Barded Warhorse. So we've got first charge on there. So Jade Lancers are a unit that just don't have first charge. It's one of the few rules that Cathay don't get. So getting the first charge on the Barded Warhorse is really nice. And then you're getting rerolls 1 to hit from the Jade Fleet rule, which, Unity and Harmony. You're going to be within 3 inches of the Mercenary because the Mercenary's in the unit. So you're rerolling hit rolls of 1, you're rerolling wound rolls of 1, and then those Cathayan Lances, which get you to only Strength 4 but AP 2, Armor Bane 1, rerolling 1s to wound. It seems pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. Alrighty then. So, this is the combo that I thought was fun. You've also got the prayers. I remember the prayers of Ulrich. So there's one that gives you more charge range, which is usually what I'd go for. It doesn't give you declarable charge range. It only gives you more consistency, but that's still pretty good. You get like a Mark and Nurgle, but you will also get multiple wounds too. So this just gives you flex into trying to kill like battle standard bearers, wizards. If you're playing against someone who's Troll Horde or something like that, you're just like, haha, take more wounds and lose combat by more. That sort of stuff. I can't remember what the praise of Sigmar are. Are there any? I feel like there's like a hammer hand, but I don't know that there's anything. Yeah, like you're already getting the hit and wound rolls, so you don't need this. A 5-up ward against shooting is not bad, and then this giving you like a weird hammer hand, but you've got to do it in the command phase, so you've got to stay in combat. And it doesn't count to combat res, obviously. So I like the Priest of Ulrich. But yeah, that's something you can do with Jade Fleet, which when we see the FAQ come in, and hopefully Cathay brought down to a reasonable power level, suddenly we've got reason to try and do things differently than just go like, let's take 17 Rings of Jet. Cool. Banner of Swirling Wind, 30 points, -1 to hit. It's just the Icon of Darkness for Warriors of Chaos, but everyone can have it for an extra 10 points. It's good. I like it. This is going on a lot of things. If you are a skirmishing unit and you can take a banner, if I want a unit of... What's the best unit of like skirmishing infantry that can hold objectives? Bretonnian peasant archers can do it, but they can't take magic banners, I'm pretty sure. So if we go here, yeah, no magic banner here. So it's probably something along the lines of if you're going wood elves, like this could give you some decent staying power on an objective. So you take Deepwood Scouts, you take a standard bearer. Can Deepwood Scouts not take a magic banner? Oh, it's the way it's worded. It's specifically on the Glade Guard. Oh, that's so sad. Alright, so it's not on Wood Elves. Tracian Forestman. Yeah, that's probably true. I then just clicked Wood Elves again. So High Elves. Tracian Warhost. Like, you can stack a lot of negatives to hit. Obviously, we're assuming that shooting is going to be brought in line. So you kind of just like, do we need it? Oh, they can't even take magic banners either. Can Squires or Ungor take a magic banner? Alright, let's have a look. I can't remember off the top of my head, so let's just go... I don't think Ungor can. No, Ungor can't. I should start deleting these. In fact, let's just clear cookies on this and then get rid of the old ones. So Squires is the other one we're looking for. So this would be under Errantry Crusade because we want them in core specifically. No banner there. Okay, so they don't get it either. Who's the best skirmishing bow infantry that can take banners? I mean, what you can do is just something like Warriors of Chaos, Grand Army. We don't need to tweak all those. Core, New Marauders, Standard Bearer. Give them the... I mean, the problem is this, they can already take the Icon of Darkness. So I guess you could have 2 units of Skirmishing Marauders. And you make them T4. You could do it on Gore as well. Orc mobs can take a magic banner. Ah, there we go. Now we're cooking with charcoal. So we're going to take a really cheap unit of Orcs. They're 5 points per model. They come with warbows. We're going to give them shields for a point per model, up to 6. So a T5... So a T4 with a 5-up save. We're going to take like, let's take 16 of them. And then we'll take a standard bearer with the Banner of Swirling Wind. 131 points. Totem into terrain, you're -2 to be shot. -3 to be shot, because if you're skirmish, -1 to hit banner and terrain, and then another -1 for long range, probably. You're basically immune to being shot by anything that isn't like Cysts of Avalorn. So that's pretty cool. Or, you know, magic missiles, but that's a problem for another day. Could go Wargore, BSB, and the Ungor, then touch some woods to be -3. So you, if you're doing that, I think you do that with a Gore brick, and the reason that you do it with Gore, because Gore can still skirmish, but they're T4, and, I mean, you take the shields, not that it makes much difference, but you've got some slight protection against magic missiles or something like that. But if you, let's say you're in Wild Herd, you'd go for a unit of Gore, let's say you go for like 20-something of them. Standard Bearer, give them the Banner of Swirling Wind. You combine that with the upgrade that Bray Shamans can have, or just like any, sorry, it's a mutation, Pelt of Midnight. So you've got Gore with the Banner of Swirling Wind, you've got a character with the Pelt of Midnight, you've got Skirmish, you're immediately at -3 to be shot. You can put all your wizards in there, and then all you have to worry about is being caught in melee. So this is actually a really big upgrade, I think, for if you're looking at Wild Herd. I think that's a disgusting unit to fly around. Like in a shooting matchup, what are you worried about? Ushabti, or like just generally Tomb King shooting. The Dwarf Thane. That's kind of it. Kind of it. Monster Hunter's Tapestry, now the go-to for a White Lion Brick with an Illusion Archmage, whereas Earthen Rampart's still a must for the unit. Love the idea of a Spectral Doppelganger with Trace Axe. You could do that. Yeah, you could do that. Goblin Mob can take this banner and nice and cheap. So I agree, goblins are nice and cheap. But if you look at how cheap orcs are, yes, goblins are 3 points per model. If we're not paying for light armor. Orcs are 5 points per model if we're not paying for a shield, so that's kind of the equivalent there. Although, you know, inarguably, shields are better than armor on this unit. But, okay, so they're 4 points per model here. I think I just prefer the 2 points per model more for the Orc Mob, because it gives us a 5-up save instead of no save, and it also gives us the toughness 4. That, like, 131 points for this unit is not expensive at all. I like Oaken Shield more than I like Earthen Ramparts. If we're talking about various wizards for the White Lion Brick. Wargore's heavy infantry. That's a very good point, Tonk. So you wouldn't be able to put it in there. Are the Bray Shamans heavy infantry, or are they light infantry? Regular infantry. Okay, so that's fine. So you can take the Gore and attach them there. That's okay. I'd forgotten you can't attach a Wargore to Gore when they're skirmishing. Not that I did during my 5 games that I played of them at a tournament, but it's definitely something I'd forgotten. Cool. Orc mobs can take a magic banner. Yeah, that's a good point as well. Like the actual goblins, if we go back to them, I don't think... Oh no, they can take a magic banner as well, for some reason. 0 to 1 per 1,000 points. But yeah, I like this. I think this is really solid. I think if you're looking for someone to sit in the backfield and their defense to be not getting shot, this is good. You can even put it on, like, if you're going Wood Elves, you could put it on your unit of Glade Guard. And the Glade Guard, because the Deepwood Scouts that you've got are -1 to hit inherently from being skirmish, it just makes them less of an easy target. Alright, Monster Hunter's Tapestry, 25 points. Enemy units may not take stomp attacks against a unit carrying their Monster Hunter's Tapestry. I think this is not necessarily going on a specific unit, so we don't need to talk about it much. This just goes on whatever, you know, infantry Death Star you want it to go on, while also being in a meta that is worried about monsters. You can make Minotaurs -2 to hit from shooting, that's pretty funny. No, I think you, like, if you're in Wild, if you're in the Blood Herd, immediately got sucked back in because I saw Minotaurs. So Blood Herd, you could go, say, Doombull with Pelt of Midnight, Gorbull with, I don't think you should do this, Gorbull with Diabolic Splendor, and then you also make it the BSB and give it the Banner of Swirling Wind. Immediately, you're -3 to hit to be shot here, which is kind of cool. You know, it doesn't give you protection against anything else, but it's fun. Human Guard, love Monster Hunter's Tapestry. Yeah, absolutely. Stomp immunity is nice if you want to stack the hit bonuses. Yeah, you could do something with illusion. That's true. So if you're leaning on trying to be minus to hit as your main form of defense. So if you've got a character this is probably where it comes in. So if you've got a Death Star with a character that's leaning on like Bedazzling Helm and some other, minus to hit, if you can get -2 to hit, suddenly this is very good. So you know what, actually, this goes really well on the Renegade Crown's Death Star. So if you're going like a big brick of veteran sellswords, let's say you're going 30 of them, full command, we're going to go hand weapon shield with heavy armor and phalanx, and then this here, Monster Hunter's Tapestry, and you put the Bedazzling Helm prints in with the Wandering Diestro. We're going to go full plate, Morning Star, and we're going to go Bedazzling Helm. I mean, I'm even willing to plumb for the full talisman protection here, I think, and just give them a shield. Like, this character is suddenly very, very hard to shift, because you're -1 to hit. You can make them re-roll all of their hits once per game with Feint and Dodge. And then also you've got a 2-up save, a 5-up ward, and you're immune to stomps. And obviously as well, you take the captain. You go Noble Outlaw, give it the Griffin banner. Noble Outlaw here. Always take the Gat if you've got points. Banter. Full plate. Charmed Shield. Don't know if there's anything else that I need to put in there. Maybe we're going to give them the Witch Hunter's Ward, actually. And may as well give them a Morning Star. Yeah, something like this. Like this combination of... it's only 660 points for a pretty damn tanky Death Star that is suddenly kind of immune to everything in the game. So this is cool, actually. So this is immune to first charge. It's heavy infantry, so you have to hit it with, unit strength 10 in the flank or rear to disrupt it. It's got 1,000,000 static combat res, because it's got infantry, close order, assuming that you outnumber your opponent. Infantry outnumber, close order. You've got standard BSB. You've got 6 ranks from the Griffin standard. So you just sat at 10 combat res. And then you can, soak the charge. If your opponent is foolish enough to charge you with a monster, you can just soak that pretty easily. Or if they come in with multiple dragons, suddenly it's a lot harder for them to do anything to you. It's pretty cool. Does AP stack? So you have the banner that gives AP1 and choppers. Yes, absolutely. So you can get... so you can do this with Orcs. I think the problem with Orcs is their banners are so good, and because you only get it on the charge, it's good on something like Ball Boys. But Ball Boys already have incredible banners, such as the Banner of Butchery. Yeah. Like I say, I'm planning on doing Renegade Crowns, so I think this is a combo that might go into my list that I had not immediately noticed. That's cool. Immediately, this evening has been worthwhile. Excellent news. That does put a smile on my face. Cool. So we've got... Let's have a quick look at the enchanted items. Enchanted and Arcane, we'll maybe go through these a little bit faster, because we're coming up 20 to 10. And then we'll go back to the really cool weapons and just do a little bit of brewing with them. So, Arch Lightning Rod. This is really funny. So this is... I don't think this one needs to be specifically built around, it's not like, oh, this is super good for this army. This is good against things in the meta. So it's just a case of, do you want to have turn off fly? If yes, spend 40 points. Here's an enchanted item that can do it. This is way more healthy than having it on a banner, in my opinion. I don't think turning off fly is a rule that you should be able to put on a unit. Just like a unit you're taking anyway. I feel like it's something that you should have to pay for in your character points. But now, if you're worried about fly, which theoretically we might not be, as worried if balloons get nerfed into the ground, you can spend 40 points and go for it. It's a once per game and it's a leadership test. Sure, still pretty solid. Potion of Fervor's pretty cool. I have not really ever played around with potions other than Healing Potion, but Potion of Fervor has me acting unwise. 30 points, single use, the bearer of the Potion of Fervor consumes it, and for that turn, you get D3 extra attacks. That's interesting. So I assume the way that this works is you drink it, then you roll how many attacks you get, instead of doing it in combat, which does matter slightly because you can make more informed choices. This just gives you more consistency. So, like, the place this obviously fits for me is putting it on the Duke in a Bretonnian Grand Army list. And this Duke has points that you can spend, right? You can take a Duke, give them a lance, give them a shield, give them a Royal Pegasus, Virtue of Heroism to give them the Killing Blow and Monster Slayer roll. All good stuff there. Magic item-wise, what we need to give them is Syrian's Locket, because we do not want to get multi-wounded. And then I really like giving them the Grummel Greathelm. But that does leave us with 35 points. So what if we just went down to the enchanted items and gave them... My brain's turned off. Potion of Fervor. There we go. For a moment, I thought we were talking about the Arch Lightning Rod again. And I was like, why am I talking about this when the Falcon Horn exists? But yeah, so this gives you, on average 6 attacks. You stack the Duke in a unit with the banner of Honorable Warfare. So you reroll against anything with a breath, a ranged attack. Breath weapon counts as a ranged attack. You go into a dragon. 6 attacks, rerolling hits. You're hitting on average with 4.5 of them. Then you've got more chances to get that 6 to wound, and it just skews the odds on how well you're able to kill dragons. So I think this is an interesting place for it. I'm not sure there's anything else that I'm like super excited to have it on, but I think this is fine. This feels pretty solid. Cool. Anything else for that? It's too expensive for the Ogre Blade. It does stack with any of the other new items that we've got, but the best one, or the most expensive one we've got, is about giving you extra attacks there, so I kind of don't care. Yeah, I don't know. The thing about potions that annoys me is that they only last until the end of your turn. Kind of wish that they would last until the start of your next turn. And I'm more thinking like Potion of Toughness and stuff. But yeah, you just got to be very proactive with them, which is fine. I feel like Killing Blow or Monster Slayer are like the most valuable things you could do with it, and Monster Slayer gets a lot more value than Killing Blow does, so that's kind of the angle that I'm going down. But yeah, I don't know. Can't think of anyone else off the top of my head that I really want to put it on. Like the Killing Blow Wild Rider character that you put on a stag, like the Wood Elf character that you put on a stag and give the Wild Rider Kindred with 6 attacks. You can give them the Dragon Sword. Gets up to 8 attacks on average. I'd rather just have the reroll hits and wounds from the I've forgotten the name of it, 25-point item. Having an assassin with Killing Blow in this somewhere in the army is a bit spooky. Yeah. Like, there are definitely things you can do with it, but it's like, in terms of what's the opportunity cost of, is it worth my time to put it on, is one that I'm a little bit more like, it's kind of fine. But I think it's fun, like, just having the... you hit the Nox, or you inject the drug that makes you suddenly incredibly roided up. This one I like, Becalming Orb, for 20 points. It's a power level 1, single use, so that is the downside of it, and it's not extremely common, so you can't take multiple of them. However, bound spell, hex, cast on an 8. Until the next starter turn subphase, enemy wizards within 15 inches of the caster when attempting to cast a spell increase the spell's casting value by 2. This obviously goes on a Shigengan Lord or Shigengan General that is high magic, that is also taking drain magic. So you can make it so that spells are +4 to cast on a key turn. That's pretty neat. That's pretty darned neat. You could even put it on just like any high magic caster and kind of suicide them up the board, as long as you get both of your spells up, and before you actually move into range. So what you could do is, if you're playing, let's say you're playing some sort of full send, like High Elves, you've got a Griffin, BSB, you've got a Dragon, and you've got a high magic, just Archmage with this. You cast the drain magic first. If it goes off, you then cast Becalming Orb, and assuming that goes off as well, you then take it as your turn to like full send out into the open, and you use that as protection. So the things that you're worried about, like theoretically if you're worried about getting Miasmic Miraged, you just make that Miasmic Mirage go from like an 11 to a 15, which is really hard to cast. They're going to need a double 6. Or is it a 10 for Miasmic Mirage? Anyway, you make some spells very, very hard to deal with. Very hard to deal with. Oh, Richard says Wallop's one-hit wonder with a Potion of Fervor. That's a really good suggestion. I like that one. That feels solid. But yeah, the Calming Orb, pretty good, I think. But I feel like it specifically stacks with high magic. You can just take it in general. I worry a little bit that you're casting it only at power level 1, so you need a 7 to get it off, which is just over 50% of the time. There's no way to increase that reliability, because rules that let you reroll a spell don't matter, because you're not casting the spell. The spell is being specifically cast by the item. But yeah, if it goes off, and you've got Drain Magic as well, which obviously your opponent can dispel, but you can just make it so they can't cast spells. Feels pretty rough. Feels pretty rough. Yeah. Cool. So, Becalming Orb, nice and easy. Arcane items. These are, I think, interesting. So, if we start off with the Staff of Quietude, which is... Never mind. It's just going to make a terrible joke. Staff of Quietude, 35 points. This is not one use, so we've seen items like this. The one that jumps out, like, from... There's a Lizardman... Lizardmen? There's a Lizardman version of this, and there's a Tomb King version of this as well. But so if we're looking at Lizardman, we've got the Cube of Darkness, single use, 50 points, auto dispel, but also ends all remains in play spells. And then it's a Canopy, I think, Enkil's Canopy. Single use, 30 points. You can just take a leadership test. If you pass it, remains in play spells. All of them are gone. So that's kind of like the baseline of what we're getting. For 35 points, you can just do it every turn for a leadership test, but it doesn't say your leadership, your unmodified leaderships. So if you've got like a leadership 9 or 10 general, suddenly it becomes quite consistent. Wait, that doesn't affect other bound spells. Does that matter? How do you mean nothing better? Oh, sorry. The Becalming Orb doesn't affect bound spells. Yes, that's pretty typical. Most things that make it harder to cast don't affect bound spells, which I guess makes sense because it's not like it doesn't take you concentration to cast them. It's just like you're channeling the power of the item. But I still think it's really good, the Becalming Orb. So the Staff of Quietude, just every turn you can turn off remains in play spells. It's really funny. Now, something I have seen pointed out is this is going to be really good against undead. Specifically vampire counts that are going to try and hit you with necromancy, you know, like spiritual vortex, which is hard to dispel. But that drops your leadership. And you've got to do a leadership test to end all of the spells. So it feels like a little bit of a numbo here, in that the things that are best to dispel are probably taken because they are specifically countering your leadership. So you have to keep your wizard quite far back, and maybe keep your general quite far back as well to make it so that they can pass on the leadership there. But yeah, interesting. This is like the anti-monster stomping banner. This is super meta defendant. If you're sick and tired of being screamed to death by vampire counts, you can take this and then just lose to them based on their normal efficiency instead of, you know, being unable to get rid of their remains in play spells. So it'll give you some play there, which is interesting. Then we've got the Scroll of Disruption and the Tome of Spellcraft. These are, even though one of them's called a scroll, these are items that last for the entire game. Both cost 30 points, and they give you a reroll to cast or dispel. So again, if we look at sort of like the baseline of what you get for, you know, a reroll item. Idol of Gork, 40 points, plus 3 inches to range of your spell, plus you reroll a cast. Idol Mork, 30 points, plus 3 inches to the range of your dispel, and reroll a dispel roll. Both of these are very, very good items that you see Orcs and Goblin players take all of the time. So there are going to be armies that want to take these. I think that's great. The thing that jumps out for me specifically is if we go to the... Oh God, what's it called? Empire... I think it's Wizard's Familiar. I always forget what the Wizard's... if it's Wizard's Familiar or Wizard's Staff. Yeah, here we go. So it's an extremely common item for Empire, which means that you can have this for Empire, but also Renegade Crowns, because Renegade Crowns, baller, shot caller. You combo it with this, so you're spending 65 points, but you're getting +1 to your dispel rolls, and you're re-rolling one of your dispels every turn. That is a lot of points if you want to go for that, but you can just go for a very focused anti-dispel caster. Tome is so good, it's like Games Workshop went, what's an item we can make that's better than Lore Familiar? Whoa, that's a take that I don't agree with. Like, don't get me wrong, Tome's good. I like Tome, rerolling a casting roll. I'm fairly certain that given the way things have been ruled previously, like Idol of Gork, you're not allowed to reroll if you're rolling a miscast. Because if you roll, like, you're not re-rolling a casting roll, you're re-rolling a miscast at that point, and that's not allowed. I'm fairly certain that's how that works. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. But the tournaments that I go to rule that you can't re-roll a miscast no matter what the wording of the spell, the item says. So having consistency in casting is nice, but what is more important than having consistency in casting? Having consistency in spells. If you can combo this with like a spell familiar on a level 4, that's incredibly good. That's where this starts to get real value, because 5 out of 6 times you're going to get the spell you want. Amazing. That's really, really solid. But I think I like Lore Familiar more than this for a lot of armies. The reason it's so good for Orcs and Goblins is the increased range means that their Itchy Nuisance, which is a signature spell, goes from a 15-inch range to an 18-inch range, and re-rolling the cast on that, which is the most important thing that they're going to do with their casting, is just incredible. And then the Dispel one is just like, you know what, sure, we've got to take a lot of cheap units, we may as well take cheap casters, why not put it in? Although we are seeing less of the Idol of Mork, which is I think the Dispel one. We're seeing less of that idol because Staff of Badoom has made a real resurgence for Orcs and Goblin casters. But yeah, I think those are both pretty good. I like them. And like I say, suddenly Wood Elves and Dark Elves can be real elves, and they get consistency in their casting, which is nice. But we held on because these are the fun ones. I think we should talk about the last 2 magic weapons, because these are the fun things to brew around. So I did see someone earlier say, but I did deliberately ignore it because we were waiting to move on to these. Ryan Bowald. Cackling Blade on a Great Bray Shaman with Mantle and Gouge Tusks, meaning you can run 2 combat wizards, the first being Black Maul, both running Demonology. That's that shit I do like. Like, I'm on board with that, and that is one of the first things that I thought about when I was looking at doing some sort of like what item, what does this do? Just don't take Lore Familiar. Take a level 4 and a level 3 Demonology Wizard. One of them is almost guaranteed to get Steed of Shadows. You're almost guaranteed to get Demonic Vessel. Someone can check the odds, but like you're very unlikely to not get both of those. And you'll have, because you've got Gouge Tusks on this, you become Strength 5, AP 1, then you cost Demonic Vessel, you're Strength 6, AP 3, the other wizard is going to be Strength 7, AP 4, you both get extra attacks, D6, you just do a lot of output with that, and I think that is a lot of fun. It is incredible. Tonks on board, yeah, hell yeah. But I think Cackling Blade is specifically good on anyone who can get extra AP on their attacks. That's the thing that it's really kind of lacking. It's the only thing that it's lacking. Sorry, just respond to this message. Yeah, so I was about to talk about what I typed in the message. So anyway, you can get extra AP is really good. And the obvious thing that we're talking about is Beastman, but you know what else you can do? You can go with extra AP. Well, I mean, there's 2 things. It's the first thing, like any army can do, and you can go with Tome of Wrath. So if you want to go for some sort of like combat unit and you just need more juice, so you could go for, this is 65 points. So if you can take a BSB that can also, like, are there any 75-point battle standard bearers? Sorry, any units that can take 75 points worth of magic items that are also a battle standard bearer? Like, there's a few, but can they be mounted? Because you need to get the charge. Like, the obvious thing to me is you could go for a really cool White Lion character in the Tracing Warhost. You go for a Tracing Chieftain, BSB, and then we give them the Totem of Wrath, and also give them the Cackling Blade, and I guess a Charm Shield or something like that. Oh, they can't take shields. Yeah, they can't take shields. So this model probably just dies, but it would hit real hard. Oh god, it's 350 points. The other obvious thing to do is just take it in a unit of knights, and then put a character in there that wants to get the juice. That's pretty good. Exalted Champion. Exalted Champion. What a great suggestion. Oh, an Exalted Champion's got a... Oh, now we're cooking. Now we are cooking. So let's go Exalted Champion. Totem of Wrath. We don't need to give them a shield because we're going for a Chaos Chariot. Do we want a Chaos Chariot or do we want a Gorby's Chariot? I think fundamentally they are the same. It's just the mount that's different, and I don't think the mount actually makes much of a difference. So let's just go with a regular Chaos Chariot. Let's give them the Cackling Blade. 375 points. This unit kind of slaps, though. You've got you've got, what, 7 wounds? So you start with 3, you add 4. 7 wounds at toughness 5 with a 3-up armor save and a 5-up ward. Just built in, because baller, shot caller. You get... I mean, you need to get the charge, which is... So maybe you don't even go for the chariot. Maybe you go for the demonic mount. I think chariot's fine. But this character can just run around on its own. As long as it's getting charges, it's doing a lot of damage. You could even give it... you can't give it Enchanting Aura because that's infantry and cavalry only. You could give it, like, Diabolic Splendor or something like that. Yeah, I feel like this is a solid standalone character. BSB Wargore in Wild Herd. Yes. But you don't get a ward save again. Ugh. Dreadlord with Cold Ones with this, and Banner of Haganeth pretty nasty with Strikes First. Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if that's overkill, honestly. So you're getting your Lancers to initiative. You're getting your Lancers to AP4. No 2 mantle level 1s with Gorok and... Yeah, well, you can... So if we go back to Beastman in terms of what you can do with this, you could go Mantle of Gorok as well. But again, we're kind of like jumping into the, is this overkill? But if you wrote a list specifically to like crush infantry, like dwarf infantry, this would do it. Cold One Knights cannot guarantee the charge easily. That is true. That is true. I think I like this theoretically on, again, if you're looking at High Elves, right? So I think High Elves kind of made out pretty well with what we can do here. So if we went for an Archmage, we went level 4 Wizard, Barded Elven Steed. We're going to give them the Blood of Calidor, which gives them... +1 to weapon skill, full plate, the game, these rules as well, which just basically enable them to cast. It gives us a 6-up ward save on top of that. And then we're going to go with Cackling Blade. We're going to go with... where's it gone? Spell Silvery Wand. And then we'll go with the Power Scroll as well. Boom. 100 points. And this is a pretty okay model at Spectral Doppelganger. Now, you could argue, why would I put Spectral Doppelganger on this? Because it's already getting D6 hits. And I'd say, shh, I like Spectral Doppelganger. You would be correct. Realistically, you want to put this on someone who's got decent strength or can like boost their strength in other ways. But I just like this as a general concept. I think that's really solid. I don't even know if I'd go Illusion here, because you don't even need to go Spectral Doppelganger. You could go like Battle Magic or High Magic for the extra attacks. And Ethereal. I guess you can't go Ethereal on the turn you charge. But yeah, there's some interesting stuff in there that you can do with it. The other thing I like it for, we've talked about Beastmen already, but what if we went for a Beast Lord that isn't in Wild Herd? So you've only got 100 points of magic items. Now, the downside of the Black Maul is it's 80 points, so we can't also go for a ward save. But what if we just went Heavy Chaos Armor, Cackling Blade, Shield... and then we can go Gnarled Hide and Uncanny Senses. Boom. Amazing. 237 points. It's not quite as beefy as the Black Maul, but it's Strength 6, AP 2, AP3 if you also combo it with the banner, but you're probably just going to go AP2. You've got loads of rerolls in there anyway. It's less punishing if you roll the 6 than the Black Maul. This just feels pretty decent. This is like a good budget Beast Lord that you can do in Grand Army instead of having to be in Wild Herd to get the extra points there. Gnarled Hide and Gouged Tusks, surely. Oh, bugger. Yep. I meant the AP one, and my brain did not apply for some reason. Gnarled Hide just goes on anyway. You can only get to a 3-up armor save because you go heavy armor, heavy chaos armor and shield, and then this. But 3-up save is still like fine. It's not as good as a 2-up, but it's better than having no ward save. Better than having no ward save. The other thing I think you can do with this one, which I'm really excited about, and probably will play around with, is a Stag Lord, because I think that's just fun. Where's he gone? Wood Elves. So I think Wood Elves kind of struggle with bringing the volume of attacks, honestly. Like, you can tech into dealing with big stuff with poison shooting, although that's not very good. But, like, I feel like it's hard to tech into dealing with hordes of models outside of bringing, like, Wild Hunt or specifically Wild Riders, because they have so much output. But if you want like a Glade Lord, let's give them a Stag, we'll give them a Shield, and we'll go Cackling Blade. We're going to give them a Talisman of Protection as well. We could give them a Potion of Foolhardiness, but I'm not really wanting to charge into a dragon anyway. So yeah, Cackling Blade works there. We're going to give them Aspect of the Boar, which gives us an extra AP1 on the turn you charge and impact hits 1. And then if you wanted, you could combo this with, that unit that someone was talking about. I'm so far sorry, I forgot from 30 minutes ago. But the Totem of Wrath, Sisters of the Thorn unit, you take like 6 of them or something. This unit is going to, when you charge, suddenly the Glade Lord is, sure, you're only strength 5, but you've got 4 attacks base, plus the D6 extra attacks, at strength 5, AP 3, rerolling 1s to wound. You kind of just like cleave through infantry in a pretty decent way, and you come with first charge. So that's a unit that can actually hit the front of a ranked up infantry unit in a way that other things just kind of can't for Wood Elves. I think that's pretty solid. That doesn't feel like a bad move to me. Anything else that leaps out for anyone? Empire, I think, as well. So, like, if you're going Empire or Renegade Crowns, you can just build a character that, sure, it's not super exciting, but you've only got Strength 4, you've only got 3 attacks. Strength 5 with an extra D6 attacks is just, like, objectively fine if you want some sort of output. I think if we're doing that, I'd probably rather go for, like, the Pearl Daggers. It's a lot cheaper. It's a worse version of it, but with less risk. But you can do this, and again, just as I said previously, Renegade Crowns are a lot more excited about more common magic items because they don't have to lean into one of these 2 upgrades specifically to buff them into a way that's useful. So, yeah, that's something that you could definitely do. You can put the Mighty Miragliano on them, get your stubborn Utilian Stoicism and your unlockability of Phalanx for the Veteran Sellswords. So, I think I had a solved list for Renegade Crowns, and I think my list is no longer solved. Borgio says, I talked to my Ulrich and Sigmar priests. We all agree prayers and benefits cannot work on units with different beliefs. I'm not sure if there's any units that actually do have prayers or theming around Sigmar or Ulrich specifically. I guess you could argue that Knights of the White Wolf are Ulrich themed. Oh, what are you talking about? The Jade Warriors? Is that the thinking we've got here? Well, I mean, it's not quite the same analog, but I did watch. God, what was it called? What was that fantastic film about the Englishman in Japan? It wasn't called Samurai. Ooh. I'm going to Google in a tab that's not on screen, so you don't see me just typing Englishman in Japanese TV show. Man in Japanese. Shogun. Ah, loyal watcher, you got it. I saw the movement out of the corner of my eye, and I also got it at the same time. But thank you so much for reminding me. Yes, in that some of the Japanese had converted to Catholicism, so that was the analog that I was going. What do you mean Shogun Season 1? There's not a Shogun Season 2, is there? What the fuck? Why? It kind of wrapped everything up. Huh. I don't know. I don't feel like there needs to be a second season. I feel like that was a really good one-season show. Alright, whatever. I'm getting off track here. Getting off track. Cool. But yeah, I think there's a lot of good stuff that you can do. So just as a recap, the BSB on like Chariot with Totem of Wrath, I think is a really fun idea. The Beast Lord in Non-Wild Herd, the Wood Elf Stag character, if you go aspect to the Boar, Empire Renegade characters, solid there as well. Yeah, what else have we got? What's the next thing? The last one, actually, is the Meteor Hammer. This is interesting. I really like the Meteor Hammer. Now, this is the one that I've been waiting for in terms of, like, is there an item that's just objectively good for Spectral Doppelganger? And 50 points. 50 points is an interesting breakpoint. I like 40 points more, but for 50 points, you get a magic item that we'll talk about in a second. You get a lore familiar, and then you get a power scroll. Or if you're high elves, you get like a Seed of Rebirth if you want more defensiveness as opposed to more consistency. That's just pretty good, you know? Always winning on 3s, and then AP -3. That's not bad. I did a dumb Death Star back in day, and I can't remember what the... Ooh, F11 and console. I'm ruining everything here. Oh, good job. Good job, me. Let's just reopen this as a... Boom. Gonna have to fix it on my screen here. But, yeah, I ran a pretty... It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like a good Death Star. Because it was Cold One Night, so it was Dark Elf. Magic items. I've forgotten the name of it. Executioner's Ask. There we go. Always wound on a 2+. And it was, you know, strength user, AP -2, killing blow, strikes last, magical attacks. So I ran a sorceress with this on the back of a Cold One, in a Cold One brick with the Banner of Harganeth. So it was slightly better in that you were wounding on 2s instead of 3s. But yeah, obviously it's got strike last here, which is a bit of a problem. And AP3 from the Banner of Harganeth. And that was just a pretty cool list that did not do super well into the Tomb Kings that I played against, but then absolutely bodied the 2 dwarf armies I played against. I'm so sorry to both of those opponents. Yeah, no initiative nerf to the hammer either. Yes, so this was before when you'd cast the spell at initiative, which would be like, you know, initiative 4 or something like that. And now Spectral Doppelganger is kind of weird with initiative stuff, so I don't... Yeah, you don't really want to use strikes last and a combination of some sort of Spectral Doppelganger. But yeah, I think this is really cool. I really like this. And if I'm going to do some sort of Spectral Doppelganger caster, I feel like this opens up the opportunities for me to do some dumb shit. Now, it probably doesn't go on an Outcast Wizard, unfortunately, because you can go level 3 Wizard. You could take that, but then you can't take Lore Familiar, so it's hard to consistently get it. And also the horses they have, they don't have countercharge, so if you put it into a unit with countercharge, you lose it. So, you know, all of that's not very good. Tonk says, again, fits well with Mantle of Gorok. Yeah, yeah, wow. Beastman, the melee army can use magic weapons. This is true. This is true. It's a Meteor Hammer, says Nisgard. How you doing? The Jade Warriors of Ulrich sounded awkward. Yes. Like Meteor Hammer for elves in general, like a cheaper version of the Executioner's Axe. I agree. I think elves really, really love it because they suffer massively in terms of strength. So just always being able to wound on 3s, AP3 across the board, really, really nice stuff there. I still, like, I'm not excited about putting it on like a Prince or something because a Prince only has 4 attacks. I say only, but when you're doing melee with only 4 attacks, it doesn't feel super, super jazzy. So I feel like for elves, Spectral Doppelganger or some other way to increase your output is probably the way to do things. What am I supposed to put on an Empire Captain on Griffin now, since I can't have both Sword of Sorrow and White Cloak? Uh, you upgrade it to a general. It's only an extra 45 points. I'll be honest, I don't normally put a captain on Griffin into my list. So like a general on Griffin with full plate shield, I guess great weapon, Sword of Sorrow, and White Cloak. Where's my White Cloak? Like immediately, 292 points. You'd maybe be tempted to upgrade to the Imperial Griffin for an extra few points there. What's the... Do you want to get... You get +1 toughness and 3 wounds? Huh, what's the difference between... Oh, I've clicked the Imperial Griffin twice. Yeah, you get +1 wound. You get... +1 strength. You're Behemoth, so you get actual AP on your stumps. For 30 points, I'm probably upgrading there. No can do. You run a Nuln army with a hands as a general. Sure, that makes sense. Damsels with illusion from the back. Hell yeah, that's a really good suggestion. I like that. I do like that. An elf with a hammer feels wrong. Racist. Yeah. Hi, Entropy. How you doing? Yeah, so I think the damsel idea is not bad. So if you wanted to go for, like, I think Bretonnia have some interesting choices they can go with. You could go... What if you go Duke, Baron, Prophetess? All of them on a royal peg. You go... Obviously, we're in Grand Army here, so we're going Ogreblade on the Baron. We're going to go with Shield. We don't need to give it any other upgrades there. Knightly Virtue, Temper. Duke, we're going to go Lance, General, Shield, Pegasus, Heroism, and then what we talked about previously with Syrian's Locket, Grommel's Great Helm, and I really liked the Potion of Fervour. And then we've still got some points here. Not that many points. Oh, no, we've got there. Okay, so we have to go... We're going to have to tweak something here, but we go Meteor Hammer, we go Lore Familiar, and Power Scroll as well, right? So we've already got the ward saving built, and we can't give it any other toughness increases. Yeah, okay. Lore Familiar, Power Scroll. That puts us at 28 points too many, so we probably just have to drop the Potion of Fervour, which is fine, frankly. Like, I like the Potion of Fervour, it's not super important. And then you just add it to, what, like 2 units of 4 Pegasus Knights? 257, it's probably got to be less than 4. I think it's probably got to be... Can you go a 4 and a 3? Or we might be overcooked here. Oh, there we go. No, you can absolutely do it. Hey, there we go. We just wrote the new Bretonnia list, and then you fill with Court Taste, which is going to be Men at Arms with full command. Is it? It's embarrassingly obvious how often I make Bretonnia lists. So then I like 14 or 15 with Peasant Bowman, Skirmishers, no upgrades, and I think this list really likes Knight of the Realm on horse. And we can go here, give them the War Banner. How many do we want to go for? Points are a little skew-if. So we go 6, and then we add, like, 2 Men at Arms. Boom. Alright, there's a Bretonnia list. Am I keen for the FAQ errata in 2 months to ruin this all? No, I'm keen for the FAQ errata to fix it all. Because... Like, I'm not going to sit here and whinge about Cathay and vampire counts, but in terms of what we're doing here, it's kind of... It lacks relevance to some degree into the stuff that's at the top of the meta, right? So I'm getting excited about dumb shit with, like, weird combinations of rules. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to do, you know, this Glade Lord with the crackling blade on a, you know, aspect to the boar stag. Does that beat Cathay? No, it doesn't. It doesn't beat Cathay at all. Unfortunate. You know, nothing I can do about that. So when those things are taken down a peg... all of the dumb combinations that I've sat and talked about for the last 2 hours suddenly become a lot more relevant. So, I'm excited. I'm thrilled. Jazzed. Made up. All of these. I was going to say acronyms. It's definitely not an acronym. I think that might mean that it's probably time for me to wrap up for the evening. The only way I can see is taking Dragon's Bow and Witch Hunter's Ward, otherwise I keep taking the White Cloak. The only melee weapon that's worth taking is Biting Blade. You definitely wanted some sort of ward save if you're taking a monster. Like, do you need to be on a Griffin? How much value is that adding to your list? If you want it to be mobile, you could either have it on a horse and join some of the units with guns, or you could have it on a Pegasus, have it near the units with guns, and have it character screens, then you don't need a ward save. And then you could go with a Dragon Bow. That works. Or Sword of Sorrow. I still think Dragon Bow's better, but, you know. Celebrimbor is an elf that used a hammer, and he used it to make Sauron's ring. I was going to say, it's like, Celebrimbor, that doesn't sound like Warhammer. That sounds like some other nerd stuff. Cards, we've got one. We've got a self-confessed nerd, he said, streaming about new rules for Warhammer. Oh, Amy, I'm so sorry. I'm just about to wrap up. That's poor timing. That's unfortunate timing. We've just been through and talked about all of the new magic items. And I think there was a lot to be excited about. I think these were overwhelmingly, like, just really exciting stuff. I'm jazzed about a lot of the stuff here. Highlights, to wrap up, we should probably go with Cackling Blade. I think is really fun, and a few armies can do some stuff with it, but very specific armies. Meteor Hammer, this is like the Spectral Doppelganger goat for armies that were looking for a good, you know, Spectral Doppelganger weapon. This fits with a Power Scroll and a Lore Familiar, so that's really nice. Hellforged Axe, I still think there's something to do with it, but I don't know what. Sword of Sorrow, upsettingly the best ranged weapon that's been printed for Wood Elves ever in this edition. So that's frustrating. The armor is kind of whatever, but I'm sure there's some niche uses for it. The talismans, again, I'm not super jazzed about it. I'm not building around it, but I feel like there are some places that this could fit in. Banners, Banner of the Steadfast was a no from me. Totem of Wrath is everywhere that I can put it. Banner of Swirling Wind, I like if you're looking for some sort of, you know, scoring unit that's leaning on negatives to be shot as their main form of defense, which is a very good form of defense right now. Monster Hunter Tapestry, I'm going to put straight into my Renegade Crowns list. Speaking of, these conquistadors don't come with banners, so I need to do something about that. I need to come up with a solution. I'm sure I'll be able to think of something. The lightning rod is how I think this rule should be printed, but I'm probably not putting it in my lists. But it's, you know, if your meta is super flyer heavy, it's worth going for there. Potion of Fervor, I think, is worth taking specifically for the Duke with Killing Blow for Bretonnians. Maybe no one else. But Calming Orb, I like if you stack it with High Magic. I think that's really fun. And then we've got all of the arcane items are like solid in some way or the other. High Elves in Age of Sigmar have hammers now and mountain cows. But they're not High Elves. They're their own sort of weird bastardized version. Which I really don't like the aesthetic of the... I can't remember the name of them. Which is a shame because, you know, I'd like more models to pull from in terms of just having cool stuff to do. Lumineth Realm Lords, yeah, I really don't like the aesthetic of them. Like, I don't mind this, not the character. Like, this is fine. I don't mind that. Like, I don't love it, but it at least still feels kind of elfy. This is also, like, dumb, but I could get behind it if it was surrounded by other high elf stuff. But then you've got, like, where have they gone? These. And I can't get on board with this. I'm just not a guy. Amy says, anything for an Arachnarok. Was there anything in here for an Arachnarok? I mean, I think the answer is always going to be no. But let's just double check, just in case. There's a lot of it that's like infantry only, which I think is an interesting balancing decision. I wouldn't have minded if it was infantry and cavalry, but like I'm also okay with them just pushing stuff towards infantry. I don't think there's anything here for Ragnarok, really. There's the best things would be these arcane items that give you rerolls to dispel or cast, but orcs and goblins have those already. So maybe with the Calming Orb, I can't remember how many points a character on the back of a Spooder is. I feel like it's 460 or 470, so you just take a ward save and then you're kind of done with it, right? Orcs and goblins. Goblin, Obnob, Spider, 445. Okay, so, you know, you can put the Lore Familiar on. Not Lore Familiar. You can put the Talisman of Protection on. There we go. It's going to take me a while for my eyes to adjust to the scroll. And then you got 25 points. So realistically, it's probably just going to be... give him the... I don't know. Yeah, there's not really much here. Becalming Orb's kind of the only thing, but I'm not super worried about that. Don't look, it's so sad. Yeah, I know, right? You can give Monster Hunty Trophy to the unit the Arachnarok charges. Amazing. Spartan says, I'm looking forward to my Scouting Screaming Bell with Warp Condenser. Oh, I don't think that works. I'm pretty sure it says infantry only on the talisman, right? Yeah, infantry only. So it's models whose troop type is infantry only. Because you've put it on the bell, it becomes a chariot, so it loses its infantry unit type, I'm afraid. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, it's been a good evening all. I hope you enjoy your weekend. I will potentially do some more content over the weekend, but I feel like we've kind of covered the meat of it, because there's no arcane journal, like no Army of Infamy to dig into. There are slightly more limited choices. I'll probably want to make some more content out of it when I'm, when inspiration strikes, but I'm not going to force it. I'm not going to do like I was thinking about doing a week, and then I was like, I don't think there's enough meat here for me to talk about. I think a video on the chaos stuff and then a stream on the items kind of covers most things, and I might put out something maybe beginning of next week or of the weekend if I think of anything that I think is interesting to dig into. Or maybe I'll just talk about Renegade Crowns or something like that. I've got an interview lined up for, hopefully, for next Thursday's upload, so that'll be cool. Would love to see a game of you using this or playing against it. What specifically, Amy? What have you got? What were you thinking? Just new items or like the new Warriors of Chaos stuff? I should get back to doing some battle reports. I did used to fill them in. It wasn't low effort content, but it was low uptake content. So while I liked making the battle reports, people were less interested in watching those than other stuff. Speaking of, like I don't know why the like the coaching with Close Order series seems to do so poorly. I think maybe it's the thumbnails I need to upgrade. Maybe I just need to start putting my face on everything. But yeah, I don't know. Like, there's some of the ones that I feel like should do well, but people don't typically click on them much. So maybe I need to change my thumbnail approach. You're interested in you talk Renegade Crowns. Yeah, maybe I should do a video talking about, like, obviously, we've talked specifically about the items. Yes, so Tonk, the Path to Glory stuff, I am actually interested, because we've now had, is it 3 releases back-to-back where we've got actual campaign stuff? I'd like to run a campaign, actually, which is not necessarily something I do for the channel, maybe, or maybe I would turn it into channel content, but I am interested in doing something along those lines. I think it'd be cool to do, or like running an event that like goes from smaller points level to high points level. So that, I mean, I'm thinking about doing... in January through to April, January to the end of April, a tale of ex-gamers, where people, it's an escalation. I don't want to say escalation league, because it's more of like a hobby goal for people. I will be trying to play games here in Nottingham, and people can do that. And maybe we do some sort of like, I don't know if anyone remembers all those old Warhammer campaigns that they used to run in the Games Workshop stores, where you'd be like, oh, this army's doing well. They've taken space because they've got wins there. So maybe run something like that and just trust people, to be honest, because it's not actual doing anything. Wonder if you could do Path and Warhol. Yeah, I don't see why not. For me, it would go hand in hand with wanting to like paint and build a new army. So my thinking is that I do like an escalation league with dwarves, because I think that's probably the only time this edition I'm going to actually build and play dwarves. But yeah, the new Marauders, Amy. Yeah, I could probably do something like that. But yeah, I did get sidetracked. But I do find that the Warhol battle reports that I put up, They are like an easy idea, but they tend to get less views than other stuff. So maybe I don't know. I'll probably do one. I don't want to say that I'm not doing it as the main video for a week, but I also feel like it's less because it's less engageable content. I think that's what's pushed me away from doing them. So I'd almost, if I have time, want to do it as an additional upload, and I'd like to get back to doing additional uploads where I can, here and there. Although I'm finding time a little bit more difficult to come across these days. The Blood in the Badland campaign book from Fantasy is super cool if you're looking for some campaign rules. Nice. I'll have to check that out. Thank you, Cast. I'd probably want to do it using, or like at least talking about it publicly. I'd like to talk about the new rules, because that's the stuff that's sort of like relevant to the game here. But I think if they're not good, like having something to fall back on or to pull tweaks from as well could be cool. But yeah, I need to start thinking about what to do with that. Our boom was fun. Yeah, cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna head off for the evening, and then I'm gonna work both days this weekend because I have managed to like overbook myself, and then with this arcane journal dropping, I've given myself less time. Or I guess it's like scheduling has come up, but yeah. Maybe I'll talk about Renegade Crowns. Maybe that's a video that I put out next week. But I have got an interview, and stay tuned. There'll be stuff coming.